Okay.
Um, Thank you all for coming back. And our first awesome presenter for this afternoon is our District Rotary representative, Luisa Sanchez from Utah. So Luisa, the floor is yours.
All right. Okay. So it's my turn to talk, right now?
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, I don't know if you received the email with the presentation that I sent you, but if you don't have it there, it's fine. Okay.
I've got it.
Awesome. Yes. All right. So hi everyone. I apologize for being the whole time here with you, but as I told many of you, we had a Rotary activity today, which was like a picnic day, you know, so that we could have a nice time together, but outside, you know, practicing social distancing and everything. So here we are in the park, as you can see. And well, I'm gonna give a small presentation about Rotary, which, yeah, here in this slide, we can see that we have about 26 members that are active. We have about 8 members that are passive members, that they're there, but sometimes they participate, sometimes they don't, but we always try to invite them. In total, we are around 34 members, and that's a little picture of us. If you can go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different projects that we have been doing during this this year, specifically like during the pandemic. You know, it's been really hard, but we didn't want to stay calm. We didn't want to just stay without doing any projects, because we know that that is exactly how many clubs you know, so we didn't want that to happen. So this was the first project we did in the summer, which is called the Homeless Project. We initially fundraised with a raffle, and then from the money that we got, we bought a lot of personal or like hygiene plan items, such as soap or shampoo, toothpaste, and we distribute them to the homeless in the streets here in El Paso and in Ciudad Juarez. We know in Ciudad Juarez, the necessity is a little bit bigger than here in El Paso. So that's why we wanted to distribute in both places. And as you can see, we also have made some masks with our logo. We can go to the next one. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. This is another activity that we have been doing during this whole year. It's we deliver some donations in La Casa de las Abuelitas, which is a shelter of elderly women. We deliver canned food or anything that is closed. Sometimes we deliver some disposable plates because we know they need it, or some cleaning items such as Cloralex. And we have been doing this all year long. What we do is we select certain week for every member, so that we don't stop delivering something. And then in Valentine's Day, we deliver some letters for the elderly women so that they would feel appreciated. Can you go to the next slide? This was one of the biggest, of the largest projects we did during the year. It's called the Winter Clothes Drive. In this one, we collaborated with a lot of organizations from Utah. And what we did is we collected a lot of blankets, a lot of jackets, any type of winter clothes, and we distribute them in different shelters here in El Paso. Even we got some donations for the dogs, for the dog shelter in Ciudad Juarez, and some donations for kids in Ciudad Juarez as well. And we got about 1,700 donations. So that activity was really big, and it was really successful. And everything was made with social distancing and following the, you know, keeping the masks and everything. Okay, what's the next one? Thank you. This is called the Basura Challenge, in which we went to a park and then we picked all the trash that we could find. It was really sad to see that there was a lot of trash, but at least we felt good because we could contribute a little bit, and it's something that we want to keep doing. Not something that it's just for a day. We want to keep doing it. We're planning to do it another one, actually this semester. Can you- Next slide, please. Okay, for some, oh, there you go. Okay, this is another activity. This one we collaborated with different rotor actors from Mexico. There was a problem in November. There were a lot of rains and a lot of cities flooded. So we contributed with different districts, the 4195, 4110, and our district 5520, in which we organized a GoFundMe campaign, and then from the money that we got there, we got a lot of the little bags are called Kids for Kids, which have personal item things such as toothbrush and all of that for the people that were in the shelters and didn't have anything for themselves. And we also bought like some big bags that contain a lot of medical stuff so that these bags could be delivered to the doctors in the location, and these bags could be used for the whole community. So this was one of the largest activities that we have been doing as well. It's actually still going on. We're still receiving some of those Kids for Kids, and we're still taking them to Ciudad Juarez so that they can go to Tabasco. Can you go to the next one? And well, we never stop our virtual meetings. Every Tuesday we kept getting together. Sorry for the noise. And we never stop. We probably stop only for spring break and for, I think that's it. We kept going for our virtual meetings because we think it's very important for us, to keep active, because once there's no consistency in the meetings, then the members don't know what's happening and they stop attending. And then I feel that like that's how it terminates. So luckily we have been having a lot of a good performance in our club. It's very active. As I'm telling you right now, here in the park, we are around 20 people, following everything, but we're active and we enjoy spending some time with each other. And it's crazy how during the pandemic, instead of, risking our club to be a terminated club, we actually increased our membership by, we were about 15 and now we're at 34. So like, almost a double. So it's been a good year for us. Can you go to the next slide? Yes, and we also have been contributed with the Camino Real Rotary Club, which is our sponsor club. We helped them in the virtual run and in some blood drive that they had. So yes, this is a good and positive thing about a Rotary Club. If you want to sponsor a Rotary Club, it's nice to have it to sponsor it, but also know that we can always help. We are extra hands if you need anything for any project. Also, if we need something, it's awesome to have support from the Rotarians. But if you have been thinking about sponsoring a Rotary Club, it's amazing. It's great, and maybe you can talk with Arturo, who is part of the Camino Real. We have been collaborating in some activities. Probably right now because of the pandemic, not much, but we're trying, right? So that is one of the good outcomes of having a Rotary. And yes, these are some news. I got in contact with before that, right now, the Rotary Club at UTEP is the only Rotary Club that is active in our district. But I got in contact with the Rotary NMSU, with some people, and we are thinking about restoring it, about opening it. it again. As I'm in the phone, so I'm not sure, but
The
I've been
question,
talking
Luisa,
with, yes.
there was a question in the chat that if a UTEP student would like to be part of the Rotaract, how they can contact you.
How do they hold up you? Yes, they can email me, they can send me a message. I'm gonna put my information at the end of the presentation. And once they send me a message, I can send them like the commitment contract and everything, like the whole process. And I'm gonna admit them to the group chat so that she or he is part of our group. Was that clear? I don't know if I'm loud or if you can hear me. Yes.
Yes.
Much better,
All right.
yes.
Awesome. And then I don't know if you have heard. I'm pretty sure you have. There's gonna be a Rotary Club that's gonna be by district. It's gonna be called Rotary Club Juárez El Paso, and I believe El Paso Rotary Club is sponsoring it. So that's gonna be another Rotary Club from our district as well. So we're not gonna be the only Rotary Club, which is awesome. And I have a member of my club that with his brother wants to start a new Rotary Club, but based on the community. So what we want to do is the people that graduate from UTEP and that maybe cannot stay officially in the Rotary Club at UTEP can go to this one that's going to be community based. And also for the student, for people that are not UTEP students, they can join this club. So these are great news. We're still working on that. Everything's still in process. And yeah, I think you can go to the next slide. Yes, is there a question? Okay, and that is my information. You can reach out to me to that phone number and that email. So for the question, if how to join the Rotary Club at UTEP, you can just email me, you can send me a message, and I'll make sure that you go through the whole process.
That was
I'm sorry,
awesome.
I'm trying to.
Thank you. Any questions for Luisa?
Jeff,
Yes.
I want to make sure everyone knows that Luisa is doing a breakout session at the district conference and also a report to the main session. Please come and see her.
Since Rotaract is now part of Rotary International, can a Rotaractor be district governor?
Great question. You got to be in Rotary for 7 years, you know. So by that time, you might almost be ready to graduate from Rotaract. But yes.
Well, Luisa, thank you so much.
There's another question from Keith in the chat.
I think there was a question about how long has the Rotaract Club been active, if I read correctly. Yes, so we have since 2017 that has been active. It was actually established in, I believe in 2008 by a lot of members, a lot of students from Juarez, but then they graduated and the club was terminated. And then in 2017, it was restored. So here we are. It was reestablished. And we are not planning to terminate it again.
Luisa, are you available to be a speaker at a Rotary Club meeting?
When?
When, Keith? Well, actually, it would
Sorry,
be-
I have two mute buttons here. I'm not sure which one I'm having on. So, oh boy. So my question is, in April, Luisa, would you be available to be a speaker for us on a Friday in April after Easter?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Friday after, just, yes, send me all the information, and I'll confirm.
I appreciate it. I'll definitely get in touch with you. Thank you so much.
And just to reinforce, because her Luisa's PowerPoint is in the Pets Club Runner section. which is where you can get her contact information, because we can't get Louisa's information directly in Club Runner because Rotaractors don't have access. So if you didn't get it just now, if you log into the pet section in Club Runner, her PowerPoint is in there with her contact info.
And Jeff, we have a question from George Adams in the chat also.
Do you have to be a student? Do you have to be a student at UTEP to belong to Rotaract?
Okay, so as we are part of the university, we also have to follow the rules from the university, right? So to be officially part of the Rotary Club at UTEP, yes, you do have to be part of, you need to be a student of UTEP. But during this year, during the pandemic, what we did, we accepted the students that were interested in Rotaract, so they wouldn't, you know, it's kind of like sad when someone comes to you and say like, I want to be part of this community service club, and then you're not part of the university, and that's sad. So what we did is I included everyone. I let them know that this is a club from the university, and officially they were kind of like in hold. But once the community-based club gets started, then what we're planning to do is to move those people, those members that are not part of UTEP, to be part of this other community, of this part of these rules based on the community. So yes, unfortunately that we have to follow the rules, but during the pandemic, we did that.
And Louisa, I think the bigger question is, if you don't live in El Paso, how do you become a member of Rotaract?
That's an interesting question. So as well, if you don't live in El Paso, but where do you live? Because like we have a lot of people from Juarez, but I'm guessing you're asking from somewhere.
Yes, George is in Artesia. Uh-oh, did we lose her?
Okay, I'm here. I don't know what
Oh.
happened.
How do we create more Rotaract clubs?
I think we could all come together and help them start one is possibly a really good thing that we could do. They probably need a Rotaract club over there.
They
is what-
may. And you know, we don't have to have them affiliated with a university either. We could just
No.
have community ones. Anyone 18 to whenever, because there's no upper limit anymore, can be in Rotaract, right, Louisa?
Correct.
Okay, I think we answered all the questions. Thank you so much.
Jeff,
Louisa?
Yes,
before Lisa leaves, can we take the pictures? And
Yes,
everybody,
let's do it
please activate your cameras, smile. We have a couple of screens, so keep smiling until told otherwise. Give me 1 second. Smile. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Arturo.
Thank you. And again, Louisa, thank you so much. You are an invaluable asset.
She's an inspiration. It's like the energy is amazing. That's
I
I was gonna
appreciate
say,
it.
Vicky, what an inspiration. Great job, Louisa.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so
and so speaking of energy, we have a very energetic group coming up to share with you very important aspects of effective Rotary clubs, key committees, and how they work together. And I don't know, Tom, are you emceeing this?
I am.
Okay, turn it over to
Good
you.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live and in person from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's my pleasure to be with you. We will be talking about the relationship of various functions of your clubs. And that is, and you've already heard this, about the essential elements, how membership, branding, service, and foundation come together to make your club a vital club. And so today we'll be talking to representatives of those various areas to find out how they can work together, and you and your clubs can work together internally to make your club a vital club and do really amazing things. So first off, we're going to start with our branding chair, Arturo Barrio. Arturo.
Thank you, Tom. Well, good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Let's say, there we go. Excellent. I see some nodding, exciting, and we're very excited to have you as the new leadership coming up to PET. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Tom, can I get a thumbs up when you see my screen?
Got it.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. So this is going to be a very important year once you take office. And I know some of you have seen parts of this presentation, but for me, this was something that really caught my attention, and I can, always share it. Rotary has been an organization for more than 100 years, and about 60% of people surveyed did not know about a local Rotary club. And this is not, for many years ago, it was something that happened in 2015. So we really need to do, better job, all of us, to make sure that people are aware of everything that we're doing. Our master brand in 2013. In 2013, we had a new initiative from Rotary that changed the logo and our branding. So this is our new brand, our master brand. Before, as you can remember, we only had the wheel. Well, this changed because all our clubs have a different logo, and we're trying to be consistent. So why I mean that your year is going to be very important is that we have a deadline to comply to ensure that all our clubs have this branding image by July of 2022. So your year is going to be key in helping us accomplish that for our district. There's a lot of tools that you can use. We have Identity at a Glance. I have gotten calls about shirts, about everything. Something that is really important, we check with our zone, and we don't need to change the landmarks or the big signs, but we need to make sure that our website, our Facebook, other social media outlets are complying with this, and all stationery, shirts, to make sure that people are familiar with our branding. I always insist on sharing what we're doing through social media, is because right now 3.8 billion people are on social media worldwide. And we're going to be talking later about foundation and our social community projects. And we have seen in the last year that people from other districts are learning about our projects thanks to our social media. I got a call from a lady in Dallas that donated to the Navajo project. Why? Because just posted it, and they have access. They're following our district. They're following our clubs. So please make sure that you share what your clubs are doing. I've seen an increase in the publications from your clubs, so I'm very grateful for all of you to doing that. This for me is something that caught my attention. 72% of the US consumers say that they're spending more time when the pandemic hit, and about 60% are likely to continue using the social media tools. So we have to be present in social media. That's the way that we're going to capture our new members. And this is very important for us to be able to convey our message. And we all want Rotary to grow. How do we do it in the past? Well, we had meetings, we invited people. Well, now how we do it if we do it virtually? We have seen clubs, as Lisa was mentioning recently, the Rotary Club has grown almost double during the pandemic, even though they're not meeting in person. So how do we do it? We just got to make people aware. When are we meeting? What times are we meeting? We're doing it online. We have to take advantage of the new tools that we have. What do we need from your club? If your club doesn't have it, please appoint a public image chair. Public image stories. We have great stories from our club members, from our projects. Design a public image chair if you don't have it, and also comments and shares on Facebook. If we share something in the district, please share it in your personal or in your club website. The more people we reach, the more impact Rotary is going to have. And if you have a newsletter, send it our way. We will be glad also to share that information. What can we offer you? Promote your programs and events in the district social media outlets. Share best practices. We have great talent. I see Eric Collins is with us today. We have Andy Warhol from El Paso Club. We have great talent, and we'll be glad to share those best practices with you and your clubs. And we know clubs are different sizes. We don't want to make it complicated for you. We want to be here to help you. Comments and shares, as I mentioned, guide your club on examples of club branding and much more. I don't want to take a lot of time because I know we have a cohort of presenters next to me. So I just want to thank everybody for your time and how excited I am to be part of the district and to see everybody on Saturday working hard for the upcoming leadership of our district. Thank you very much, and I yield the floor to our MC, Tom Walker.
Are there any questions for Arturo?
Which social medium has been most effective? Thank you, Barry. That's a great question. We have different outlets. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook. I think that the one that has the most reach right now is Facebook. And I think it depends on the generations. You know, if we were trying to reach for Rotaracts, probably the TikTok might be one of their options, or Instagram. But I think the one that allows us to share more information is Facebook. And it's really easy and simple to use, and we will be glad to support the clubs on that. We also have Instagram. LinkedIn is more professional, but the one that we have had more reach is Facebook. And we did an analysis at the beginning of the year to try to figure out which clubs have social media. And we saw that some clubs haven't posted in a couple of years. So, you know, if you're going to have something, you know, you can share the district, you can share other clubs. Right now that everything's online, we can participate. We saw a great example, you know, past district governor Linda organized auction for polio. We were able to fundraise close to $13,000 in about an hour and a half. We had people from all over the district. So now all your events can be shared with the district. We'll be glad to participate and to make sure that people are aware. You know, we have virtual runs. We had one for the Camino Real, and Luisa supported. You can participate. Now Anthony's going to have an event for pilots. It's a run. So you can participate from wherever you are. Let me see, a recent submission to the Sun News asking to remove the branding from the photo we submitted recently that you should be aware of those. Thank you, Barry. I will definitely look into that, and I'll follow up with you to try to figure out what happened with that.
Social media can also be a great recruitment tool, because if you have young people that might have an interest, and if your club has a need for someone to help, it can be a real encouragement. We've certainly had some people young people who've become very involved in that committee. It gives them a place to fit in quickly.
And like Donna mentioned, you know, we want to make sure that people are aware. So people ask me, why do we take a picture of squares? Why every meeting you come in, we take a picture of squares? Like Lisa was mentioning, because we want to make sure that people know that even though that we're not meeting in person. Leah, I think your microphone is on mute. Thank you. One of the things that we want people to know is that we're continuing going, that we're a vibrant district, that we're vibrant clubs, and even though we have had challenges throughout this year, we're active. And you know, the other thing that we would like to request for you for the coming year when you're president-elect, please let us know when you have a new member, so we can also welcome them to the district. We also have return highlight of the week. So if you have a member that you would like to highlight, reach out to me and we will be glad to do that. And we also have another campaign that is called Check-in Tuesday to reach out to our club members. You know, we have seen that some of the club members are not attending all our meetings. Reach out just to figure out if they're doing well. You know, we have a lot of members that work in the front lines, that are co-workers. Just make sure that we reach out and make sure that they're okay. I will be glad to put, yes.
Would you place your contact information in chat?
Perfect. Here we go.
Okay. So now let's move on to another. Wow. Another aspect of the three essential. Branding is certainly one of them. Getting the message out, having a uniform ID that's universally recognized is a big part of it. Another part is the service and supporting the Rotary Foundation. And today we have our incoming District Foundation Chair, Linda Woodward. Linda, I believe you have a solicited but unpaid announcement.
Yes, I do, Tom. Thank you very much. I have two of them very quickly. First off, and most of you know him quite well, I would like, on behalf of the whole foundation team and District 5520, to do a big shout out to Tom Walker. Tom, as all of you know, has run the foundation off and on for about 16 years. Tom is stepping back. He's not going away. A lot of people have sent me notes. You would not believe that Tom is either passing or has passed or is leaving Rotary, a multitude of things. Tom is moving on up, we might say, in zone. It's a wonderful position and we're so proud of him. But Tom is not leaving us by a long shot. But I really would like to say a fond shout out of thank you on behalf of District 5520 to everything Tom Walker has done for this foundation and for the clubs and the members. So that's number one.
And
Thank-
Linda, what position is he assuming?
Thank you very much. You say it. Tom, you say it, because I get it all confused. What are you going to be, El Jefe?
As of January, I'm also the Zone 26 Endowment Major Gifts Advisor, which means I have a budget from the Rotary Foundation, but like everybody else, I can't spend it.
Well,
We're
That's-
proud of you, Tom.
that's no fun. Come back to us. No,
So
no.
a
we're proud.
a cheer for Tom then?
Huh?
Hip, hip.
Hip, hip, hooray. No, we're proud
Thank
of
you,
you.
Governor.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Okay, then my second announcement is starting on Monday, we have district grant training. And this is so very important to our district people. And our grant training, as you've seen on the websites, are March 29th, April 1st, April 5th, 7th, 13th. Now 14th, we've got in suspension because we don't have any takers right now. Now, I've been making calls around and some people are not calling me back. I guess they don't even know who I am, or they look at my number and go that I want to sell them car insurance or car warranty or something like that. I don't even know what that program is all about. But please, please, please sign up. We have $93,000, but by the time they take off the tax, title, and license and all that kind of stuff, it's 91,000. But you know what? That's a lot of money. So if you don't apply, you know what happens? Your club next door to you gets all the money. That's a great thing. You know, that's nice of you to do, but we'd kind of like to share it around. So that's my story. Look and make sure you've got two people signed up for district grant training. Okay, those are my announcements. We're ready to go.
And last year we had about 160 people, and it's very important, even if you don't plan on right now on doing a grant, please do attend it because you may decide later on that you want to. Okay, Governor Linda, you know, I hear a lot of things from clubs and club presidents, especially presidents-elect this time of year. And it goes something like this. Everybody wants me to set goals for my club for this coming year. But to be honest, I really don't know where to start. Could you help me with helping figure out what my goals ought to be, or certainly where I would enter them? Because I've looked on Club Runner and I can't seem to find any place.
Well, Tom, you know, that's really a very good question. And it's one that's asked a lot. First, as all of you know, we have a district secretary. Her name is Danette. And she showed you, I believe, either first presentation, second presentation about the district website. It's provided by Club Runner. This is where you enter your officers and your contact information, your members, your meeting time and your place, among all those other things. But to enter your goals, that's where you'll go to rotary.org and you enter them in Rotary Club Central. So I know it sounds confusing. It was for me when I was president-elect. If you have problems, call Danette. But if you can't get a hold of her because she's busy talking to one of us, which that happens a lot of times, what I will tell you, contact your assistant governors or your lieutenant governors. That's what they're there for.
Now, Linda, uh, how would I decide on what my goals are? What sorts of things do I consider? Do I just write in what we did last year?
Okay, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and it takes a couple of times, like a million times over, to get it sometimes, but that's okay. I'll say it and then I'll re-say it, and then you can call me, you can call Peter Fowley, you can call one of us on the foundation group to get it. First, in the absence of any other club priorities, we suggest that $100 per capita for annual giving and $25 per capita for polio eradication. When you and your club foundation chair are deciding on your foundation goals, I'd start with the number of Paul Harris Society members you have now and how many you intend to add. That's kind of tricky, but you have to estimate. Remember, each Paul Harris Society member pledges to give at least $1,000 each year to the annual fund, polio, or global grant. Most Paul Harris Society members contribute to the annual giving, but some meet their commitment through polio and or global grants. By the way, half of our annual giving, remember, comes back to us to fund our district grants and the district matches for the club funds of global grants. And then on top of that, okay, I'm not done yet. There's every Rotarian every year, which all of us know that's what? E-Ray. And you guys have this one down pat. I know you do, which encourages every Rotarian to give something at least $25, say a month, to annual giving with the goal of an average of $100 capita worldwide. Now you're telling me, that doesn't average out because there's 12 months in a year. Okay, so there's 2 months that you're home free that you don't have to do it. Your foundation chair can help you with the number of members that give $100 and the number you plan to add. Averaging $100 capita significantly increase the size of your district grant for the following year. You may also want to add goals for adding Paul Harris Fellows and Polio Plus Society members, as well as Bequest Society and major donors. Now, see, guys, this is something we need to paste on the wall with your foundation chair. Once you get the formula down, it's not that hard. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, well, you know, this has been a really trying year, and every community has needs right here in River City. And so, some of my members are saying, why are we supporting the annual fund or Polio Plus when there's so many needs right here?
Once again, that's another very good question, and one that everyone should ask. First, contributing to the annual fund and Polio Plus, it's members of it goes back to members of Rotary International to address humanitarian needs on a worldwide basis. It tackles the problems no single club or collection of clubs could possibly take on. So when we give to the annual fund, our money is invested by the Rotary Foundation for 3 years. And the interest helps to fund the operation of the foundation. At the end of those 3 years, the money is divided equally between the foundation's World Fund and the district designated fund, the DDF that you always hear about, which comes back to us. This is called share. The World Fund provides matching funds for our global grant, DDF. It also funds a number of worldwide programs. We primarily use our DDF, our half, to fund the district grant program and the matching club contributions to fund global grant projects. You also ask why support polio eradication. First off, I'm going to tell you, this is a commitment we made a long time ago, and we need to honor our commitments. We Rotarians always do, but especially most of the world thinks it's gone. It's not gone, as you heard earlier. There's one left right now in Pakistan. Was it Pakistan? Yeah, I believe it was. This morning is what he was talking about. But consider the spread of COVID. How long did it take to go from one source to become a pandemic? And it's something that I was taught when I first started going through training many, many moons ago now. We're only one flight away with polio. It just takes that one person. We can't stop now. We can't. We made that commitment, but it's also one flight away. And think of the children. We owe it to the children. Plus, I want to tell you one little story that I learned. I kept always thinking, oh, I'm putting my money in for drops. No, you know what? We built labs. And these labs are what helped with Ebola. I was amazed because I remember when I was little and I heard about Ebola outbreaks. We have been the one that have come up to help almost eradicate Ebola. Ebola is now taken care of with a shot. That's us. And we never tell people that. So look what we have done. Those labs will never go away. And so people, we cannot stop with what we are doing. Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
my spiel.
Yeah, I think I understand why it's important for us to support the Rotary Foundations through the annual fund and polio. And I guess my question now is, how would my club and I go about achieving the goals that my foundation chair and I decide on?
Okay, I would suggest, and this is even for small clubs, you know, our district is so blessed with so many rich, wonderful, small clubs. That makes up so much of who we are. And I can say that being a past district governor. We need foundation chairs. And I know a lot of you sitting out there say, we don't have anybody that'll step up. Tell them the stories. Let them see the videos. There are so many beautiful videos for them to see. They will fall in love with, they will become passionate about them. Get a foundation chair. Participate in our foundation programs. Get them involved in district grants. Go to district training, even if some people have told me, so that if, I don't know if we're going to do a district grant this year, I don't know if we can afford it, It's okay. Come to training. Come one night. Listen to the wonderful team we have. Listen to what they say. You might change your mind. Even if you don't change your mind, I'm not charging you. It's not going to cost you. It's just, a few hours of your time. There's nothing on TV anyway, guys. Listen to global grants. Listen to by district. I'm going to tell you one thing. If you do a global grant, or you read in our Rotarian about a global grant, and by district, I consider just like a global grant, and see what we do, even outside our community, you're never, ever not going to want to be a Rotarian. What we do to change the world is a marvelous, marvelous thing.
Linda, could you
So-
go into the by-district conference a little bit more?
I beg your pardon?
Could you share our by-district conference plan for this year?
Okay, well, and I'm, I should have told you, I think we're fixing to change it. So, ooh, Governor, I'm gonna put you on the spot. We're working on by district this year. It's gonna be in September, and I don't believe Martine is here. Martine Gomez is our chair. By district is going to be in El Paso, Texas, is what our plan is. We have another district that has come to us and is so very interested in participating, which would almost make that a tri-district. Bob, Governor Bob, I'm so sorry. I have
Oh, that's
not.
okay. A little more basic, maybe just, share what happens at by-district.
Okay, what happens is 4110, which is the district out of Mexico, comes up and meets with us and tells us their projects, their plans, and we group together with them from District 5520. And so that's why I call it very similar to a global grant. We come together and you say, you don't have money for it. It's not a $30,000 commitment. You put in 1,000, you put in 500, you put in whatever your club can afford. And sometimes it's 9 clubs coming together to formulate a grant with 4110. And before you know it, you have satisfied this grant. And I'll give you an example. I believe Corazon de Niños has been done this way. I may be wrong. If so, tell me, Arturo, but I don't believe I am.
You're correct.
This is the one that is heart surgery for babies. If you ever go to the hospital down there, like I was fortunate to do when I was governor, what this grant does, you will never be the same. So what we do change the world every day with by district, with global grants. And I do apologize, Governor Bob, I will talk to you about this other that is coming up. Anyway, we're doing wonderful things to change the world with by district. And this was started there again, I believe, with Sonny Brown many, many years ago. And it was a tri-district back then. So let me go back to answering your questions. I think I've deviated. Another thing clubs need to do is provide updates to your clubs. Your district foundation programs. You need to keep your clubs abreast about what you're doing. As you're working toward the big event, whatever that service project is, let your clubs know what's going on at least once a month. Don't keep them in the dark. It's called openness. Don't be secretive about it. Let them know. Then also, we have a wealth of information on video clips on polio. I have a wonderful lady that has stepped up this year to take charge of the polio group. And she is an assistant governor. I don't know if she's here. Nikki
I'm here.
McDonald. She's
I'm
from,
here.
there she is. And Nikki she's gonna rock the world with the polio. And so she will be able to provide you with some polio videos that will come out of zone. So show those testimonials like that. Just do it. And there's 2 other women from Albuquerque that are going to be working on that team too. So, what I'm saying is keep it as an action item with your people. Don't keep it a secret until, what is it, October, when all of a sudden it's polio day. And then we go, okay, let's do pints for polio. Make it front and center at least once a month. And that's when people contribute. And I'm not saying it's all about the money, but it does take money for us to get to the end line that we need to do. And it is about the money in those countries that we're trying to finish. So, Tom, I think I've pretty much told you what you need. If I missed something, let me know.
Governor Linda, would you put your contact information in chat so folks can get a hold of you? I think
I sure will.
We've about used the time for this segment. Again, you may be looking for resources in the foundation section of the district website. You don't even have to log in. There's a lot of useful information. And I would point you to the Zone 2627 website, the Big West website. You look for a thing called Rotary resource. And that particular document is like 16 to 18 page PDF. And every question that you can probably imagine is on that. And it's maintained by Jeff Cochran, who spoke to us earlier today. And so, for instance, your club secretary can't find the form. The form is listed there and a link to get it. So thank you very much, Governor Linda. It's interesting to hear answers to some of the frequently asked questions that presidents might encounter. So we talked about.
Do we have time for one question? We have someone raised their hand.
Yes. John Shapiro, Santa Fe Rotary. Linda, is there, I've been reading someplace, I think in Rotarian, about Rotary's effort with COVID. Is it going to be a joint effort with COVID and polio? What is the program going on with Rotary with COVID?
The answer to that question is, first of all, we may get involved in supporting immunizations. We will not buy vaccines. We are already involved. Linda mentioned the labs that the polio campaign has purchased and maintained, and the expertise that we have in dealing with polio that has been applied around the world to dealing with the COVID pandemic. So we will support the efforts, and a number of clubs right now are working with various immunization authorities to facilitate that. Again, we will not buy the vaccines. Our labs and our expertise are being utilized. In the Navy, we would call it cross-decking, dual use, but we have been very active in that. And as to what the board and the foundation decide in the future, we'll find out shortly, I suspect. Is that it?
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, so we've heard about the branding aspect, getting out our message. We've heard about the Rotary Foundation and the programs that it supports that are valuable to our communities and our global community. And lastly, the reason we're doing all this stuff, besides the service, is membership. And today we have Mr. Tallhat, James Hatcher, and Mr. John Morrison, I believe, to talk to us about membership in District 5520 and how it works with the other legs of the essential elements. Mr. Hatcher.
Or Willis, are you going to present this?
Unmute.
No, just Jim's there.
Just give me a minute.
All right.
Sorry about that. I started talking before I unmuted. So, I figured my voice would carry all the way to New Mexico, but it didn't quite do that. Hi, I'm Jim Hatcher. I am the district membership chair as of right now. But for you guys, for you presidents and president-elects, your district membership chair is going to be Willis Sharmer, and he's coming up to describe to you what his expectations are and a little bit about membership. So without any further ado, Willis, are you there?
I am.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a very interesting day today, enjoying the heck out of it. So Jeff, if you don't mind putting the presentation up, please. Cool. Learn a little bit about membership with Rotary. So go ahead, and we've got a quick little video you may want to use as you're explaining things to folks. So we'll go ahead and listen to that really quick for potential members.
What is Rotary? Rotary is a voluntary, nonprofit, non-governmental, non-religious organization of industry professionals and academics working in intertwined autonomous networks, providing self-education, exchange of knowledge, and humanitarian aid. It might sound complex, but it's built on a very simple philosophy. You go through life, working, studying, and taking care of your loved ones. But at some point, you might stop and feel a spark, an urge to not only do good, but to help others as well as yourself. Throughout life, you've had tons of ideas. All of them might not have been the most complex or the most developed, but it's the thought that counts, isn't it? When an idea is introduced into the Rotarian method, and we exchange thoughts, knowledge, and experience, ideas grow along with ourselves and are brought into reality. That is what Rotary is. We know that simple thoughts can become the beginning of something huge and life-changing for millions of people around the world. For us, it has led to projects like local mentorship programs, providing clean water, building schools, disease awareness campaigns, scholarship, exchange programs, wigs for cancer patients, teaching kids karate, providing medical care, blood donation, fighting illiteracy, protecting mothers and children, and emergency food supplies. And to think that our first project was a public toilet, and now we're on the brink of eradicating polio. We believe that with the right people, the smallest thing can make a huge difference. So when you feel the spark, remember Rotary.
That's about my speed from an illustration standpoint. So it's time to think outside of the box. We're always looking for ways to gain new members for Rotary, right? And with the challenge of the incoming RI president, Mr. Maida, who will be president for your Rotary year of 21-22, and is each one bring one philosophy, we need to think out of the box to grow our membership by 10%, which is what he's asking for. Go ahead. This presentation will be up on the district website. So you'll be able to use this as well as other membership development resources. As you guys know, Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, and leaders. And our clubs, the 35,000 clubs of the world, work together to, as the video showed, and as you guys all know, that list there. And we provide service to others, promote integrity through the four-way test, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace throughout our fellowship process. You guys know the spiel, and it's kind of good to know and use that as part of your elevator speech, if you will. Okay. This can be found on both the district and the RI site. The vision statement, and I think we went through it in one of our last meetings a few weekends ago on the vision statement. Get familiar with that so that you can use it both as the full thing as well as the big letters of together people create change. And that's what we're trying to do, is get more people to create change, right? And be part of the Rotary Fellowship. Okay. There's different membership types. I think a lot of your clubs may have different versions, but you can consider all sorts of ways to bring in new members. Clubs now have the ability to offer different membership types in order to reach different segments of the community to make membership more attractive. Some of those examples are the family or partner memberships. This is to encourage families or partners to join. My spouse is a member of one of the different clubs in Roswell. So the family shares attendance or service project participation. Corporate nonprofit members encourage businesses to get involved. This may also help clubs develop strategic partnerships or broaden their depth in the community. Usually employees of the business share attendance or service project participation. So there's all sorts of different ways, including associate members. Some clubs use this membership type as a try before you buy for a certain period of time. Friends of Rotary, people who are interested in Rotary but may not be ready to commit to a club and are willing to work on service projects, that kind of thing. Younger professionals, to encourage younger people to join the club, perhaps at a subsidized rate for a certain period of time or a reduced rate. Our club has that in our bylaws, and you can just join without having to pay the lunch fees, if you will. So it's a lot less expensive for folks that may not be able to pay the full weight of the Rotary past the dues and stuff. There are no set rules as put out by Rotary International about the requirements for each membership type. Clubs can create any number of different membership types and are encouraged to do so and develop models that work for them. RI still only recognizes two types of membership in the database: active members and honorary members, which I'm sure most of your clubs have both. Our district has a 21-22 goal for increasing our Rotaract clubs by 4. That's another way to set up a vehicle to get into your club, is to start a Rotaract club and bring them into the fold over time. It's up to your club how to decide you will report these members to Rotary. If you report them as active members, they will pay Rotary International dues, district dues, and enjoy all the benefits that normal Rotarians do. And clubs and districts can set their own policies around other financial obligations, such as club dues, meal costs, that kind of thing. Attendance requirements and service expectations, which I believe the attendance requirement has been let go. Next slide, please. How to keep and grow your membership. have activities and programs that are consistent with Rotary's core values and your club's core values. Keep the religion, the politics, and biases out of the meetings. You'll hear about that here in a little while, about DEI. Project your projects and programs need to be relevant, efficient, and most importantly, fun to keep your membership active and make sure you're inclusive and supportive of all of your members. For membership satisfaction, it needs to be a main component. Big things matter and tiny things matter. Innovative due structure in our meeting time and place. For example, shift 2 or 3 meetings a month. Shift to 2 or 3 meetings a month. Sometimes you can do an evening casual meeting as opposed to your regular lunch meeting, or swap that out if you guys do an evening meeting. And of course, right now, well, we're in a virtual world for the most part. Bring in speakers from outside that you could never afford to do. There's a whole group that as I think we talked about in one of the last sessions, about looking at the speakers that Rotary can provide both nationally and internationally. Your target market. Next slide, please. Understand your market and don't waste their time. Oops, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead a slide. I apologize. So go to the next one again, please. Understand your target market and don't waste their time. Always be on the lookout for busy professionals and families, even if they have children in their 30s and 40s. You can take anybody from 21 through their 50s and all the way up to as old as folks get. So, and then of course, spouses and partners. Just remember that this is a good value for the club. If they feel that one of the folks of the family is sacrificing and the others can't participate, it's something to think about, is to bring those folks into the club. Next, please. Be inviting and inclusive. Be attractive, as in plan to have the club socialize with spouses, partners, coworkers, friends, and family members, and guests or visitors and prospective members. Can you find projects that are meaningful but also fun? So be inviting, lighthearted, and is laughter always part of your meetings? That's important to have laughter. Add a social hour after your projects. That always makes it nice when you aren't just doing the project. You can also enjoy the fellowship of the people that just worked on the project with you. Next slide, please. Kind of talked about this a little bit. Make sure that everyone knows that they are welcome in your club. Put it prominently in any invitation that you're providing to the community. Make events cheap or free for guests. Is it meaningful, inclusive? If you sometimes, like I just said, sometimes if you leave the spouse out, the club, the spouse or partner could resent that, the time commitment, and feels excluded. Unavoidable reasons that you can run into with either loss of club members or non-inclusion is, of course, health and folks moving out of town. So always work with your club members to keep them as engaged as possible, because it's not just about finding new members, it's about retaining the current ones. Next slide, please, Jeff. In your new member invitations. Use taglines for advertisement, email, and flyer and Facebook posts. Make sure you download latest approved branding. You just heard from Arturo about that. If you have questions about that, please do contact him. So make sure you have your elevator speech and that you're open to include everybody. And your invite should have information about date and time. Some clubs even have cards that they pass out to potential members, like a little business card with the name of how to get in. Maybe now it'll have the URL for joining the Zoom meeting. So and put that on your Facebook page as well as a club runner page. So just all sorts of different ways to market to potential members. Next slide, please, Jeff. Club turnoff hints. Always kind of figure out a way to, if you can, to reduce hitting up people for money all the time. A lot of people, especially Rotarians, might be have more than one club that they're a member of, or a society or whatever. So keep that in mind. And people have already paid dues and probably meals. Just be mindful of the amount of money for tickets, raffles, dinners, conferences. And of course, right now it's not exactly, there's not a lot of money that's going out for those kind of things, but there's always, like Governor Linda said, that you know, there's a lot of opportunity for the foundation in giving in different ways, but you know, do it in a good and respectful way, and that kind of keeps a lot of the current members out, or in, excuse me. Next slide, please. Membership club events. Of course, as we're kind of coming out, hopefully we can do more of these, but make them cool and fun. Make them your signature events for your club. Think of local events you've heard of that people love and that are well attended. And, you know, it's been a while, but I know there's a lot of really interesting and neat events that go on around the district. I know that El Paso has a wine festival and lots of stuff in Albuquerque as well. Just keep some stuff in mind when things start opening up. Things to wrap your hands around are pets, classic cars, crafts, art, music, kids, food-based festivals, and sports events. You can, and that would be an excellent way to bring in new members, as well as to keep your current membership engaged. Next slide, please. Oh, there it is. You're right there. There is no magic trick or one method that works best. Do something not mentioned here for how you proceed. One of the big things is make sure your club has an ongoing membership committee, and your district resources can certainly help you with that. And as we move into the next year, I'll be able to help you with that more. And Jim has certainly done an awesome job for the last 3 years on making sure that happens. Does your club have an onboarding presentation to explain your club's history and or organization? And then also how to explain Rotary's structure. That video, there's a bunch of things that happen that you can find on the district and RI websites. Grow your membership in a manner that is consistent with your club and RI's core of inclusiveness and fairness. If you get together 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 or more people and agree that you're going to work together with a goal and have fun to expand your club, you're going to expand your club. And there's different ways to do it through meeting at a bar on an evening, night, or wherever, as we open up to be able to do that kind of stuff. You'll get more people involved. So district and RI resources, next slide, please. District, zone, and international resources are there for a reason. You as incoming presidents, your first contact after you and your membership development team look at the websites developed for you should be your AGs and LGs. They can really help you. And just remember, you're not alone, and there's a great team standing behind you waiting to assist and help you move and your club forward. Just please keep that in mind. Rotary is about service. Next slide, please. The mission is to grow Rotary to better serve the community and the world. You and your team are the key to unlock your club's potential. So invite the mission, not the meeting. And it's more powerful for a first impression for somebody that's visiting the club to be invited to a hands-on project. It really gets things going. And keep the projects coming so that you can keep new members and new interests coming into the club. And also to retain current members. Next, please. So we're down to the ask. I think this slide is pretty self-explanatory. We spoke about it just a minute ago about each one bring one. If each Rotary member of your club brings one, you are going to, through the law of averages, bring on new members. And that's what the incoming president of Rotary International is espousing. And if each member brings one potential member to a meeting, Rotary is going to be up to 1.3 million from its current 1.2. We've been given a great gift in Rotary, so we need to make sure it's viable so that we can continue our quest to serve others. Next, please, which is a little video to gain a little more understanding about some of the membership myths. Oh, did we lose the sound, Jeff?
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Meet David. David has been thinking about joining his local Rotary club, but he's got some reservations. David's got questions like, is Rotary membership right for me? Or do I even have time to be able to tell you? Let's explore the top 5 Rotary membership myths exposed. Myth number 1, Rotary is only for business networking. While Rotary was in fact founded as a professional group, its purpose has always been centered on service to the community and in fact the world. Both the personal and professional contacts that you will undoubtedly make are just a wonderful side benefit of joining Rotary. Myth number 2, Rotary is just an old boys club. There was a day when Rotary was comprised of just local businessmen, but that was long ago. Here's the bottom line. We're simply looking for high character men and women in our community that want to serve. Myth number 3, Rotary is expensive. Actually, Rotary membership fees vary from club to club, community to community. Some are as little as mere dollars per month. Myth number 4, if I can't make the meetings, I can't be in Rotary. Rotary is about serving. If you want to help us serve the community, but just can't get to regular meetings, your local club will absolutely find a way for you to participate.
Myth number 5, I just don't have time to be a Rotarian. Do you or does your business have 2 hours per month to contribute to the community? We can show you some reasonable goals and examples of how to get yourself involved in Rotary inside of your busy schedule. So you see, David did have some concerns about joining Rotary until he heard the whole story. Don't let these myths stand in your way. Start your Rotary journey of service right now, because the world needs Rotary, and Rotary needs you.
Okay,
Dave?
any questions?
I have one.
Sir?
Is there a difference in what a partner or spouse pays? As do they pay the same thing for partner and spouse, or is there a special? Because you know, different categories, and I was wondering if there was a difference in what they pay per category.
Very good question. And as I believe that, you know, if they're a full member, they will pay the same amount as what the regular person is. That's also dependent upon the club and how they want to set it up in their bylaws.
Willis, if I could help.
Please.
Rotary International dues are the same. District dues are the same. And as you said, if the club has a special pricing plan for spouses or something, then that's would be in the club's bylaws.
Okay, thank you.
We have a few minutes before we go to our next topic. Are there any general questions about membership, foundation, public image, service projects, all of them?
If I can add something, I would like to. You president-elects out there, you really need to form a membership committee if you can. If you have enough members that you can do that. If not, somebody needs to be designated. I know some clubs are pretty small, and maybe as president, you're going to be doing double duty to do both of those things. And that's just kind of the way it is. The other thing is communication. Really need to have a viable email address and a phone number for each of you. That should be on the district website, and anybody can get in touch with that can get onto that information. But it's really important, and especially if we want to get in touch with you for anything about membership or anything else for that matter. I think everything else will come as it comes along. There'll be a little bit of a learning curve here, but it's not difficult, and we're here to help.
So in wrapping this section, foundation, membership, and branding. So let's say you had a project that you wanted to do in your community. Well, if you talk to the branding people and they help get the message out, you could help recruit likely candidates and interested folks, in addition to maybe some of your past members. You talk to your membership folks and you get them involved in the project. You talk to your foundation folks about how you would get them work with the branding people to get the message out about what you're doing. And so it would be interesting or intriguing to the community. And your youth folks working with Interactor Rotaract clubs that work with you, you can bring them in too, because remember, they're all part of the Rotary family. And they need projects as well. So it's not just the foundation, or it's not just branding. where it's not just membership, it's all of them working together. Because most of us joined Rotary because we wanted to do stuff. And the more people that we have in our club to do stuff, the more stuff we can do. And oh, by the way, it funds the foundation with more money, which helps us to do more stuff. So it's the big circle. So thank you for your attention. And I want to thank our presenters today. And let's support them because they're supporting us this coming year, and each one of them has their hands full, and making this district as great as we think it is. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tom, and everyone. And just to reinforce, when you look at the agenda, these topics were not separate in the agenda. This was put together to reinforce that these activities and these committees work together. No silos, no independence. They are working collectively for club success. So, Lewis, are you ready?
Yes, I am, Jeff. Thank you very much. Can you add me as a co-host so I can share my screen?
Yes, although you should be able to share your screen, but I will make you a co-host.
Aha, thank you.
Hi, Lois.
Hi, Kathy. All right, can you all see my screen good and clear?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, district leadership and presidents for the upcoming year. I really appreciate your time allowing me to present today. My name is Louis Gentet, and I'm the current club president for Taos Milagro Rotary Club, and I'm here today to talk about diversity and inclusion as well as equity as it relates to your club leadership role. So I was born and raised in New Mexico. I have an undergraduate degree from UNM, Go Lobos. I got a lot of experience in this work with the American Cancer Society Relay for Life events. I have a graduate degree in nonprofit leadership from UPenn. And as it relates to diversity and inclusion, I have a certificate in D&I from eCornell, and I'm a candidate for a certified diversity professional through the Institute for Diversity Certification. As I said, I'm the current club president for Taos Milagro Rotary, and I have a world of experience in community engagement, nonprofits, and consulting. And I want to start off with my experience with the Relay for Life event at UNM, which was a fundraising event to raise funds and awareness for cancer via the American Cancer Society. So I co-founded this event in the early 2000s, about mid-2000 actually, and I wanted to honor my hometown friend who is a cancer survivor. He had received services from the American Cancer Society, and we wanted to get involved within the organization, and what better way to do that than actually start an event on our campus community. In the first year, we netted $4,821. Between year one and year two, I received a lot of training from the organization, from peers in a venue like today. It was in person, but I received some great training. And I focused a lot on recruiting and cultivating leader volunteers that reflected our campus community. So between year one and year two, we increased the amount of funds we raised to $13,401. I stepped down from my primary leadership role and I offered advisement for the third year event. In that third year, we raised $18,344. And this was before the days of online fundraising. We were kind of like in that era between doing fundraising on site, bake sales, things in person. And we were kind of in that phase to doing online fundraising. So when I graduated, when I was no longer involved in the event, that event netted $25,685. And in a matter of 3 calendar years, 4 event years, the event increased by $20,864. And I can specifically say that that was a result of the diverse leadership volunteers that were involved in planning those events. From year 2 to year 4, it truly realistically embraced the campus community. And a few years ago, after hosting that event, I heard a quote, and I can't attribute this to someone because I don't remember who shared it. But the one thing that they said, and while we don't always see ourselves as a specific nonprofit, we are a civic association as a 501c3, we want to reflect the community that we serve. So how do we do that? And how can we accomplish that through diversity, equity, and inclusion? So I have a task for you today. I'd like you to go ahead and think about 5 things that are unique about yourself. I want you to write your name and list those 5 things. Drop that information into the chat box. And really, these 5 things can be anything. So I want to spend the next minute just roughly going through that. But to recap that, think about 5 things that are unique to yourself. Write your name, list those 5 things under your name, drop it in the chat box. Ready, set, go. Aha, so I see that Michael is a world traveler by the age of 12. That's really interesting. Keep them coming. All right, so we have Bill, learner, positive, competitive, achiever, influencer. Nice. So we have Bob, who's a writer, financial advisor, widower, member of a ballet company. Okay, that's really interesting. We have George, who's outgoing, father of 4, grandfather of 11, avid Laker fan. Sheesh, they're catching up to the Celtics with the number of titles. Here we go. All right, there's woo. They're all coming in at once, so I can't read them all. But there's some really interesting things that are in here. So a lot of the things that I'm seeing are the relationships that you have with their family, whether you're a parent or a grandparent, folks who are business owners, folks who have done some level of coaching, and there's a lot of good information in here. So as you think about those 5 things that you share with one another, you all bring to the table unique experiences and opportunities as an individual to your club. I'm seeing there's someone who's an avid baker and they love singing. I also saw someone that's a cyclist. I can speak for myself that I enjoy cycling. So maybe one of these days we can go on a cycling venture around New Mexico. But what this really speaks to is we're all unique individuals, and we all have unique experiences about ourselves, whether it's about our identity, our interests, our hobbies, whatever it may be. And that's a particular concept that you might hear in the diversity world is intersectionality. And it's really like the intersections of your interests, of your identities, of different aspects of who you are as a person. And if I was to go ahead and like download those chats, we could probably form affinity groups in baking, in outdoor adventures, and hiking, in Cajun cooking. I saw that with Jermaine. I think there's a lot of different ways that we can come together to bond around those common interests, but also look at the ways that we're unique, but we're also similar. So with that being said, we do have these different ways of being with each other and serving with one another in our clubs. What I'm going to do for each of these sections is I'm going to go ahead and highlight a definition for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And generally, like, we don't want to read off the slides, but for the purposes of today's training, you can screenshot this slide to help further advance your understanding. And I know it's also being recorded. So there's going to be a couple definitions of diversity that I share. The first definition is settled on the characteristics that describe differences among people, which include demographic characteristics, such as gender, ethnicity, age, national origin, religion, disability, sexual orientation, and deeper level characteristics about people's personalities, their values, and the things about their personal interests. And this is by Professor Nishi, who studies human resources work at Cornell's Institute of Labor Relations. Another way of looking at diversity, in addition to the demographics, is diversity represents different people that the organization interacts with on a regular or irregular basis as an asset to the organization. And this is Leah Smiley's definition, who's a certified diversity executive for the Society of Diversity. So when you think about that, are there any particular things that pop out or stand out to you when you look at those two definitions, both looking at it maybe from a demographic standpoint or a standpoint of the folks that you interact with and that are viewed as assets, like people who add something to your organizations? I want to ask you just to add a couple thoughts that you might have in the chat box, and then we'll go ahead and jump on to the next space. And Jeff, can you help me with some of those chats? Because sometimes my screen isn't able to like see the slides on the side and the panels on the side. So are there any new thoughts on that particular question?
Not the new question.
Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and jump on to the next space. So where this leads us all today is Rotary International has a great diversity statement that they crafted. And about 1.5 years ago, this statement came out. And the statement that you may or may not have seen is really important when we're looking at and discussing diversity work, because this really helps solidify and frame where Rotary International sees diversity in its mission, in its vision, and in its operations. So as a global network that strives to build a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change, Rotary values diversity and celebrates the contributions of people of all backgrounds, regardless of ethnicity, race, color, abilities, religion, socioeconomic status, culture, sex, sexual orientation, and gender identities. And I have a packet that contains a lot of documents that will be sent out. And Rotary International's president, Knack, had released a statement about a month ago that really reinforced the commitment to Rotary International's focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really tied it into our core values and the vision and the mission of Rotary itself. So there's been quite a bit of work that's been happening at the top with Rotary International and Rotary International's Task Force on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And that's why I'm here today, because there's some pretty interesting resources that Rotary International has developed to allow the clubs and folks in your role as presidents to really look at diversity and think about how can you bring DE&I to your particular clubs. So one of the first ways to think about diversity and think about these statements is looking at your diversity management practices. And there's a PDF guide that I'll be sending out, and I'll actually include in the chat box at the end of my presentation that's titled Diversifying Your Club. And it's this really great guide that gives you as presidents, membership chairs, individuals on your board to really think about how do you even start this conversation? How do you even think about assessing your club? Because one of the common practices that's really helpful is being able to assess your club. So this guide really allows you to think inwardly and look inwardly at your club to get a better understanding of who you are and who you represent. This diversity assessment also provides a guide for you to take action. What you want to think about is, as you think about a diversity within your organization, is you want to know your club's why. Start with why. Why is diversifying your membership important? I always look back to Sun Tzu in The Art of War when he was talking about know your terrain. You want to know your terrain, you want to know your community, you want to know your demographics and landscape. One way of doing that is when you do your assessment to understand who is in your club and what's the demographics of your membership, you want to consult census data, whether it be the American Community Survey or the recent decennial census that gives you some figures about what is your community composed of, whether it's the county, the municipality that you live in, and you want to use that as a point of comparison. Does your club represent the demographics on one level, and start thinking about other additional levels that you think about diversity. The diversity demographics that we presented are generally in alignment with protected classes as defined by the EEOC. But you also maybe have other levels of diversity that are part of your community, and you might know that, and you might realize where those different pockets of individuals are, and how you want to interact and engage them and bring them on as new members. With this Diversifying Your Club guide, you essentially collaborate, research, discuss, and implement a plan of action. And the next thing that you would want to consult with is, as you start looking at diversity management practices and looking at how you can increase diversity within your organization, you want to look at ways of how do you find new members. And essentially you want to use another guide that's available to you, finding new club members. There's a worksheet that you can fill out. There's professional contacts that you can identify. There's service contacts, community contacts, Rotary contacts, and you can use a recruitment wheel. And I encourage you to screenshot this slide. Essentially, I mean, this is something that you might want to take back to your club to do virtually, or when you're able to meet in person, you might want to put this wheel on a big butcher paper and create like a 4x4 wheel that charts out who are those members that you want to recruit. And one way that you can use this recruitment wheel is using that resource that I shared about earlier, and think about, who are your Rotary contacts? Who has been a previous speaker? Who has maybe been an awardee of a particular grant or service award that you have? Who is someone that was maybe a former youth exchange student or a host family? You want to think about those Rotary related contacts that can become those prospective members. And you essentially go all the way around the wheel, from professional contacts all the way to grassroots leaders. And you want to categorize people to say, okay, these are the people that we know in these particular areas. Those spring to minds are people that maybe you see on a daily basis and you have good conversations with. It could be someone that you see at the coffee shop. It could be someone that you see at your local diner, and you say, you know what, let's invite them to a Rotary meeting. They would be something that we can include in our particular outreach efforts. So as you start thinking about these diversity management practices, and you think about the definitions at the top level, from Rotary International all the way down to ways that you actually bring new members into the club, you also want to think about equity. And the way that equity is defined is promoting justice, impartiality, and and fairness within the procedures, processes, and distribution of resources by institutions or systems. Tackling issues requires an understanding of the root causes of outcome disparities within our society. So this is an area that a lot of times involves process, procedure, and policy within your organization. And right now, there's not particular resources available that Rotary has specifically devoted towards equity. But these are some questions that you want to think about how it applies to your club. So you want to think about Rotary International's project process. So when we engage in projects internationally, there's a pretty set structure of how those projects work. There are service opportunities identified by the community. There's buy-in from the local clubs. And the role that we come in is very defined, and there's sustainability tied into that. You want to think about that when you're thinking about service projects that you do domestically. I think that's a really good model when you're doing work in your own communities. How can you model and compare some of the things that happen on the international level and bring that back domestically? One thing that you might want to consider is, before you even do a service project, is there a community needs assessment out there, or is there groups willing to work on a community needs assessment to identify those project service needs that fall into the areas of service, into our mission and vision and so forth. Again, you want to look at, is your domestic service project initiated by a community member, or is it a club member's big idea? Not to discount a club member's big idea, but if it's coming from the community and there's an identified need that you can collectively contribute your time and talents as a service organization, you might want to rethink the role of how that supports to our definition of equity. You also want to think about, and this is just an example when you're thinking about the distribution of resources, are your Rotary Youth Exchange and RILA Award opportunities publicly advertised? Are they in newspapers or in the radio stations? Are they on social media that specifically reach a student audience? And are they accessible? And also, does your club have a way of gathering applications and selecting candidates for these opportunities? So that's another way of rethinking equity as it relates to this definition and common club practices. I'm going to go through a couple of these as well. Does your club have an angel fund or sliding scale for your membership dues? Maybe there's a certain segment of your membership that might not be able to always afford the dues. Maybe your club creates an angel fund to help supplement and boost the membership dues. So they can come in and pay a certain percentage, and that rest of that percentage is matched by your club. Does your club rotate vendors periodically? Think about, do you order t-shirts, you print materials, awards? Do you look to work with vendors, specifically women and minority-owned vendors that you can contract with and procure these products from? That's always a good practice of procuring vendors on a regular basis. And that creates opportunities for other business owners in your communities to work with you. Also, in alignment with that, does your club have a shop local first policy for purchases? It's always easy to order online, but maybe services are available within your community that you can go to a local vendor and maybe create some type of agreement where you agree to purchase items for the next year. That also advances equity in this conversation. Another point is does your club offer grants to institutionally underserved organizations and leaders? The power of Rotary is immense. Could you imagine if your club granted to an organization that's maybe new, that's trying to address a particular issue in your areas of focus, but they don't really have that funding and backing. But if you show faith and you give faith in that organization, they can go and say, all right, our local Rotary Club invested this $500 award in us or this $1,000 grant in us, and we're going to go ahead and use this to support our startup efforts. Then they can go to another funder and say, Rotary believed in us. We're seeking your help to support us as well. So that's just like an example of kind of how there's this multiplier effect of some of these small actions. You might also want to think about, does your club have a process for selecting project partners? Are ideas pitched? Is there like a formal way of partnering with a particular service provider or project partner? You also want to think about, does your club have a way to control out-of-pocket expenses for members? You might have activities that happen throughout the year that may add to the cost of membership. So maybe there can be a mix of events that are free or low cost, or maybe through the budgeting process, Rotary covers the costs of some expected expenses that happen as well. And this is something to think about as well, looking forward, is how can your club be a partner in promoting health equity for accessing COVID vaccines in your communities? There's probably going to be a continued need to be able to increase access to COVID vaccines in the short term and the long term. And given our history with Polio Plus, that might be a role that your clubs can say, we're going to go ahead and help take the lead in supporting some of our sites in our communities. So those are some questions to think about how equity specifically applies to your club. The last area that we're going to jump into is inclusion. So we've defined diversity as the people that essentially are attracted to and part of the club. Equity is essentially the practices, processes, and procedures that promote justice and fairness. Inclusion is essentially the internal practices that allow folks to be able to offer their voice, be their authentic selves, having full understanding of the decision-making process. So there's not a lot of surprises when decisions are made or service opportunities are fulfilled. So I'm going to give a couple definitions again on inclusion. It's a relational construct. Ultimately, it's about how a team functions and performs based on the strength of social connections, openness to learning, and also the depth of decision making. It also focuses on an interpersonal process that makes it available to diverse groups to yield performance benefits to the organization. So another way of looking at it is the way an organization configures belonging, communication, equity, interactions, and essentially empowers the organization to leverage its diversity. So one way of doing that, and this is some practical work that you can do, and we can dig a little bit deeper into this at the district conference, is creating an inclusive climate. It promotes experiences of belonging and uniqueness for its members. So an inclusive climate really looks at the quality of social connections that are available to members, openness to learning, agility, essentially being able to make decisions quickly in one manner, and also the depth of decision making. So one way that you can support and foster an inclusive climate is by also creating rules of engagement. It's essentially creating team rules and group norms. You would want to encourage your participants at all levels to think about how should they act with one another before meetings, during meetings, in committees, via service projects, and also virtually in today's world. As president or through a diversity committee, through membership, you want to look at ways to facilitate open and candid conversations. One comment that probably is always shared in a lot of groups is, we've done that before, it's never worked, we've always tried it, it's failed. But one thing that you want to look at is maybe the timing wasn't right when an idea or initiative was tried, or maybe the factors have changed for one reason or another. So that's something that you always want to consider. You also want to be clear when you're speaking about inclusion. How are decisions made? When is a decision needed to be made at the board level, the club level, within committees, within an ad hoc level? You know, the past year has presented a lot of clubs with challenges and opportunities to adjust and pivot in the way that they work. So I know a lot of decisions have happened, probably with one-on-one conversations, in meeting sessions, all to support the current challenges that our communities have been facing through the pandemic. You know, but being able to clarify that and put it onto paper is really important. So how do you do this? And I'm going to share some points on how you can do this by creating a charter, group norms, essentially a social contract that helps support and promote inclusivity. And again, you can screenshot these slides as well. So you want to have a shared understanding of what's expected of you as a president, what's expected of the officers, board members, what's the expectation of committee chairs, members, and so forth. And as you start creating this charter of what are these expectations of each of these positions, it creates a real crystal clear understanding of, okay, this is what the board's tasked with. This is what the committee chairs are tasked with. This is what members are tasked with. Given today's virtual work, we also want to look at what are your preferred working hours for the meetings. So for some clubs that have a group of individuals who are working from home, being able to meet during the day might be more flexible, but for some, meeting in the evenings for committee meetings might still offer greater opportunities for inclusion so people can be part of the process. You also want to look at how does your club cultivate those strong connections? And I think as we look around the horizon, we're going to start being in person, meeting with one another more regularly in the next 6 months or so. So you want to look at how can you foster that fellowship with one another to, again, get to know more individuals and create those strong connections that support inclusivity. And you also maybe want to define what is a strong connection. You also want to look at how does your club communicate with one another? Is email, social media, newsletter the best way to go about it? Do some people prefer text messages? You want to be able to create that balance to see how do your members like to be communicated with, and also how do prospective members like to receive their communication. You also want to look at how club members can express their views. I've been in brainstorming sessions where a person pitches an idea and for the next 15 minutes, that idea is anchored and everyone's talking about it, following up on it. If you come to the district conference workshop on diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'll have some solutions and ideas for you to figure out how can club members express their ideas without the loudest voice or the anchored idea being the one that dominates the conversation. You also want to think about how does your club resolve disagreements and how does it resolve misunderstandings or interpersonal disagreements as well. You also want to look at how are roles and responsibilities assigned. On a personal level, you likely never want to volunteer someone to say, I'd like you to serve in this role. I think you'll have better success in being able to find mutual interests of what that person is interested in supporting. Another common activity that may happen in organizational life, someone misses a meeting, they come back to the next meeting, all of a sudden they're the chair of the committee because they've been assigned to be that chair. Again, you don't want to kind of go through that process because those type of acts don't necessarily support an inclusive environment. And again, you want to look at how does your club leverage each member's strengths and skill sets. Each person brings some really unique ideas to the table. That rays of sunshine exercise that I shared, do it with your club. You'll probably start learning some interesting things about your club members as well. Lastly, I'm just going to run through some inclusive behaviors that you as a president and club can start thinking about. Going out of your way to make everyone feel welcome. Being genuine, taking that extra effort to understand problems, challenges, opportunities, working to ensure that a decision is something that everyone can accept, helping each other out, going above and beyond for that. I'm sure there's been some times this year where during the virtual meeting phases, you've helped one another out by Zoom, by Google Meet, by text message, whatever it may be. Continue that. Also give folks the benefit of the doubt, especially now, like we're in a whole different phase of doing work and meeting as a club. So showing that level of empathy is really important. And as a club president, you want to challenge assumptions, ask questions, seek to inquire about a lot of things, because in your role, as you've learned already through the previous PET sessions, you have a very influential position to be able to lead and drive your organization through the upcoming year. Some non-inclusive behaviors are microaggressions. That's something that we can discuss at the district conference, but one general common microaggression is speaking over someone. So if someone's trying to say something, someone's like consistently interrupted and talked over. That's like one particular example of that. Being exclusive, not including people in your conversations, downplaying contributions, not giving credit, withholding information, like I said, interrupting, speaking over each other, or dominating a conversation and not allowing other voices to come in. Those are behaviors that detract from inclusivity. So one of the things when we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion from a membership perspective is also looking at, okay, you've created this inclusive environment to support your members. But one of the things that really is beneficial to this is not only onboarding, but also retaining the folks that you recruit and bring to your club. So these are some questions, and I invite you to screenshot this slide as well, is think about how do you onboard your members? What does that first year experience look like for new members? Do you track your membership retention? How can you formalize and support your new members? Is there a way that District 5520 can support retention and onboarding in some way? Some ideas to think about are mentoring and pairing people with one another. So as new members come into the club, you can have like an individual who has a lot of experience and mentor them with that person. You can also get some more virtual learning specifically at myrotary.org. You can learn about your club's history or share that club history with your new members through service opportunities, of course. That's always a great way to retain new members, and through team building exercises. So these are just some things to consider as you think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, specifically as it relates to your membership, and also how you can look at the ways that you do particular practices and processes with your programs. With that being said, I leave the floor and I open it up for questions.
Louis, several people asked for a copy of the PowerPoint. Can you send that to me and I will upload it to Club Runner?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Louis?
Yes.
It seems to me that there's kind of a tension here between equality and fairness, in that should we just ignore the differences of people and treat everybody equal, or should we value the differences and try to utilize those differences?
Absolutely. There is definitely an embracing of valuing the differences. I like to always go through the stages of group dynamics of forming, storming, norming, and performing. So when you're forming as a team, the onboarding phase can provide you with a baseline of shared expectations and shared understanding. But when it really comes to presenting ideas or presenting ways of doing projects or anything else, you definitely want to welcome those differences. And as president, you want to be able to have ways to manage that conflict in a way that is focused on the project or the task at hand, because ultimately those experiences are always going to add value to your club. So you always want to look at, just because you might be storming, you might be at odds with each other in a committee environment, you want to really look at what's the root of that particular issue, or what's kind of the areas of commonality that people are bringing to the table, and centering it on service and centering it on your mission and vision. And it really allows those unique voices to come to the table. And ultimately, that's something that I think we've all experienced, situations within our clubs that not everyone might agree on a particular area, but that's where the opportunity is looking at what are those decision-making processes that can be implemented that takes those voices into consideration. So when a decision is made, folks have a greater opportunity to be comfortable with that.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Louis? Okay, well, thank you all very much, Louis. Thank you very much. A lot of waving fingers today. All right, folks, we are due for a break. And so we will break for 15 minutes and we will reconvene at 3:18. Restart the recording. First up is our good friend and just all around great Rotarian, Donna Pedacci, to talk about Rotary Friendship Exchange.
Thank you, Jeff. Let me see if we can share this. Whoops. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. For the last 3 sessions, all the PEs have been hearing about all the things that they needed to learn and things they needed to do. I'm going to give a very brief presentation about something that I just want you to be aware of. You don't have to do anything. It's something fun in Rotary, but I hope you'll be aware of it for your membership. The Rotary Friendship Exchange, usually called the RFE, is an exchange program for Rotarians and family, where you go to another district, usually overseas, but it can be here in the United States, and you're home hosted with Rotarians, and you share their lives for a brief period of time. Most of the exchanges last between 10 and 14 days. And you're usually moved to 3 to 4 different locations in a specific district. The purpose of the exchange is to broaden international understanding, build friendships, and I can tell you that some phenomenal friendships have been made. We have Rotarians in our district who I think have created lifelong friends with people that they have either hosted or been hosted by. And we have some that every year for their annual vacation, they vacation together. This goes on all around the world. It's something that really special comes out of RFE. It's a great foundation for peace and service, better understandings. Several years ago, we had a group here from France and had a wonderful time. When they left, they shared that they had actually been afraid to come to the United States because at that time there was a lot of rhetoric going around about the French, and they really thought they would be badly treated. They were so happy with the hospitality that they found, and they went home and shared that. And in fact, the next year they sent back another non-official friendship group that came back and stayed with us. It was really a great thing that came out of it to help alleviate a lot of misunderstandings about both the French and US. It's a phenomenal opportunity to learn about a region's people, their food, languages, customs, history, in a way that no normal tourist can ever do. You get to see it from the inside. You get to see how they live their life on a daily basis. And it's really a very special experience. There's also an opportunity to possibly find partners for global grants. Several grant partnerships have come out of the exchanges that we have done with districts all around the world. Doesn't always happen, but it certainly is an opportunity to do so. All of the travel expenses are paid by the participants. The hosting families provide a private bedroom and breakfast, and they may provide other meals or sightseeing opportunities, but that's always at their discretion. The hosts are not expected to assume a significant financial burden. Often, a hosting club, the hosting members get together and they decide that they will offer more meals. They will help cover some of those costs. Here in the Albuquerque area, we often come up with the tickets to go up the tram, for instance, and those are thrown in. We do a lot of dinners at members' homes. A few years ago, one of the most clever things I saw a club do in Ruidoso, they have a culinary program at the college there. And the Rotary Club hooked up with the culinary school, and the students provided most of the meals. It was practical experience for them. And our guest, who happened to be from India, had a wonderful time interacting with the students at the school. So we do ask clubs to be as creative as possible in minimizing the cost to the guest. And some clubs, usually the larger clubs, set aside some modest fund that can be used to offset some of the costs of hosting an RFE group. Because we do so many home hosted dinners, sometimes the club will pitch in and pick up some of that cost. I've got several slides here where I'm just showing some of the groups and some of the kinds of activities that happen. Those smiling faces you're seeing here is very, very common during an exchange period. As I flip through, you're going to see some past district governors, some past district governors' wives, other Rotary members from throughout the district. This is a group that went to South Africa, had a phenomenal time. These are some of the Egyptian hosts that hosted our team that went there. Our people came back and said they've never stayed in such mansions in their life. That was unexpected, but quite a treat for them. Last year, the last RFE that we did before COVID was to Fredericksburg, Texas. This is some of our group here. And as you'll notice by the photos, sometimes they're big groups, sometimes they're small. The hosting district determines how many people they will accept. Usually it's anywhere from 6 to 14 people. It differs by the district, but they set the rules for that. This is a small group that came in from Wisconsin, and some of our people took them up to Tent Rocks. and they just refused to leave. We were there all day. It turned into a really wonderful experience for both them and our host. We've got some of our members here. They were in India, and they were invited to attend the wedding of one of their host family's members. They became some of the entertainment. You see them here on stage attempting to do the Indian dance. They sent me videos of this, and I cannot tell you how wonderful and what a good time they had while doing that. But Indian weddings can go on for 2 or 3 days, and so they had a tremendous opportunity to experience that. So here are some of our women in the Indian saris that they were given to them as gifts while they were there. We had a group come in from New Zealand, and they were staying out in Tucumcari. It was a very large group, but we had agreed to host them, and we didn't think any of them would ever go home. They're wanting to come back, as a matter of fact. This is an English group, again, with some of our host families down in the Las Cruces area. This is some of that group that went to South Africa. They were taken to a game park. They did pay extra to have that opportunity to participate in safari activities. But I think it's an experience that none of them will ever forget. When we have an exchange, it's always on a first come, first served basis for the sign up. As you can imagine, last year we had to cancel all of the RFEs that we have planned. And Rotary International tells me that our district over the last several years has done more RFEs than any district in the United States. Our members love these. I think we've got 2 or 3 members here in our audience today who have participated. I have been bombarded by members who want to participate in another RFE, but as you can imagine, we have some issues with COVID. There are some countries that their government will not allow any foreigners in. And I'm in conversation right now with 8 different districts that want to do an RFE with us. At this time, I can't tell you when that will happen. I am hopeful that by late this year, we will again be able to offer this. And I will be sending the information to our membership and to you as club presidents and asking you to share that, because a part of the RFE, the important part, is it is an exchange. I have hundreds of people who want to go on an RFE to travel, but that means we then have to host a group coming from the other district. And that is where I often will come to you and ask you to help convince your club to be host. Jim Hatcher is here from Fort Stockton, and his club, well, something just happened. Anyway, his club is said to be the most fun club in the district. I will just share that with the rest of you. I don't know how to explain it. I'm going to go down there one of these days and experience it.
That's because we're all insane.
What was that?
That's because we're all insane.
Oh, well, whatever. I'm not going to touch that. But the important thing for the PEs to know is that hopefully I will be coming to you with opportunities during your term. And I'm hoping that your club members will be receptive to not only traveling outbound, but to hosting them coming in. Hosting is a phenomenal experience too. And so I think I'm about out of time, but again, I just want you to be aware of the program, and you will be receiving information in the future as soon as COVID allows us to travel again on a social basis. Are there any questions before I sign off? Barry, you're muted.
There is something I'd like to add. I am a Rotarian because of my experience with RFE. in India. And in fact, the couple that you were referring to who went back for the wedding is my wife and myself. And we have maintained that friendship. The second thing I want to add is that a comment that was made in Chile by the leader of our group. He said at one Rotary meeting there, if every person in the US or in the world participated in RFE, there would be no wars. And that is really something I believe to be true. Because when you get to know people, when you live with them and become friends with them and see them in their own environment and they see you in your environment, there is so much understanding that develops from it, that it is one of the most worthwhile programs I believe in Rotary.
Thank you, Barry. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Donna. All right, we're going to turn it over to Bob and possibly Sunny for a business meeting. And Danette does not have the Zoom link. She should, but I'm going to forward it to her right now.
Yeah, let's take a break until she can.
I'm on.
You're on? Great. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
she's here. All right.
You sent it to me.
All right. All right. Good. Okay. Next order of business is for us to cover the district budget for next year and ask our president-elect to approve it. We have to do that in the context of a business meeting, so I hereby call the business meeting of District 5520 to order. And at this point, I'll turn it over to our Finance Committee Chair, Reg Ryder, to cover the budget and call for the vote.
Thank you, Governor Bob. Share my screen here. Good afternoon. I am the district treasurer and also the Finance Committee Chair for this year. And you should have received a copy of the proposed budget. The high points that I want to share with you is that the budget does assume that we'll have 2,245 dues paying members. That's a slight reduction from the number last year of 2,312. Most importantly, the dues will remain at $30 per member. Youth programs. RILA will not be in the budget this year. As you heard earlier, the RILA Foundation has been established and it is now a separate 501c3. Rotary Youth Exchange, however, is reflected in the budget, but it is a self-supporting program with no assistance from the district. A couple of other points. We've got two funded positions, the secretary and bookkeeper. DG and elect and DG nominee expenses are in there for training. And the amount in there for their training does not cover the full amount. It's a stipend. And there's about up to $3,700 for the district governor to cover Zone Institute, Council of Governors, Nominating Committee, and a contingency account. That's it. Very quick and simple. You've seen the budget. What questions do you have? It's too easy.
Who can vote on this?
No questions. Can I move to approve?
No, I
Okay.
asked, who can vote on this?
Okay, I do want to cover there is a note here that since this is coming from a committee, it does not need a motion and a second. We just need to call for a vote.
And the question was who can vote?
The president-elects.
And we'll be looking for a raised hand in favor of the district budget.
Would you stop sharing the screen? Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
You may.
It's Kathy from Taos. What is the zone district?
Zone Institute.
Oh, Institute. Yeah, what is that?
Bob, could you answer that?
Yeah, we covered that one this morning. It's the zone version of the district convention or the international convention. It's a zone convention in Tucson.
Okay,
Which also includes training for the district governor-elect and the district governor nominee.
I just needed to be reminded. Thank you.
Sure.
John, you've got your hand raised.
John, you're muted.
Can't hear you. We can't hear you.
No, I was just voting, but the Institute is great. I attended the virtual one this year, and I've signed up for the one in Tucson, and I highly recommend it for everybody.
Thank you, John.
A question.
Yes.
I asked this a little earlier. When we applied for a district grant, we found out that our giving level of our club, because of the small size, allowed us to apply for a grant, a district grant of a small size, equal to basically to the amount of that we had contributed. The project was a good one. The district has $90,000 in it. We couldn't get the project funded because it needed more money. Therefore, the project went by the wayside. This is something that perhaps, because there are clubs in our district that are small, and the contribution to them may not allow me to grant a reasonably sized, reasonably funded project through a district grant because of the limitation placed by that rule. I wonder if that could be revisited at some point at a district level, to see how that can be altered to fund projects beyond the capability fostered by a club's donor level. Did I make myself clear?
I'll yield to Governor Sunny to address that, and I might add something to it as well. Go ahead.
Right now, our district budget is not such that we're able to make a significant addition to club projects, although we will keep looking for ways to do that. The question you're really raising, Barry, has more to do with how our DDF funding is allocated, and that's something we would take up at another time.
Also, Barry, you can always pair up with other clubs and combine your DDF contributions to have a joint project and maybe bring more resources in to accomplish one project. That's another option to do too.
To be clear, would you please state what EDF stands for?
District designated funds, the ones that come back to us from RI.
That's the 90,000 we were talking about.
Right, that's the 90,000. That 90,000 is designated from our donations to the annual fund that come back to us to be used for community grants. It's not part of the district budget per se.
That's correct.
Sunny, if I might add, one thing we do in Angel Fire, because we also have a very small club, we almost never do a local project unless we have at least one local partnering organization, like a church or the garden club or the hiking club. You know, we have a lot of interesting groups here in Angel Fire. And if we work on a project where we have a common interest, we can usually team up with them and get some funds from these other sources.
And
Thank you, Debbie. That's what Bob's referring to also. And there's that opportunity in Las Cruces. Who's next?
Also, Debbie, you can also contact Taos Milagro.
Right.
That's
right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So actually, Bob just answered several of my questions. Thank you.
The project that we were trying to do to feed the hungry in Las Cruces, working with one of the local synagogues, and they didn't have the funds. We were looking to help fund them.
Right.
They couldn't contribute the funds with us. They were just looking for funding and we were trying to help them.
Understand. Any other budget questions?
Yes, this budget that we're expected to approve, are we able to see the quantified dollars? You showed us the narrative, but you didn't give us the line items in the.
Okay, I was hoping.
It was posted on the district website, George. You can find the whole thing there, but maybe Reg can also bring it up.
I could share and show you page through it right quick here.
Okay.
This is page 1. This is basically the income you see.
Right.
The district conference is self-supporting. So the budget here is over in the right column.
Mm-hmm.
So the total income is set for about 303,840.
Okay.
This is your total district, other district expenses, which are the by district conference, TRF's promotion support. This is just basically Rotary Foundation support. District awards that we do, 4-way contest comes at 13.5. Then you go down, the district grants are something that is really separate from the budget.
Right.
District conference expenses, I already said that those are separate. We hope to come up with 52,000 for that, but a lot of that is donations and registration. You get into youth protection background checks. You heard in the briefing earlier, those are background checks on district officers. Under district bookkeeper and equipment expenses and secretary, those are just payroll expenses and equipment expenses. We have insurance, but we only pay that every 3rd year, so this is a down year for that.
Mm-hmm.
Office expenses total out at about 4,400. And then total PR, marketing, and membership, another 1,500 there. And then you get into the planning and training for zone leadership, pets, 13,000. Now, pets this time didn't cost us anywhere near 13,000, but it's there in case we meet.
In case you need it.
This is for next year's pets, which may well be in person.
And which should be in person, yes.
Okay.
AGLG training, Zone Institute again, and then e-training expenses that pays for licenses for Zoom and et cetera. So the total planning and training is about 21,000. Now, district governor expenses, you'll note that total RI allocation, 32,140. This is from international. That's not ours. That's just for the governor. And what the governor does not spend gets returned. So the total DG expense, we have a Zone Institute in here we talked about earlier, Council of Governors, $8,000 contingency fund. So we add about another 3,000 to that.
Okay.
DG Elect has about 4,000 in there for training mainly. DG Nominee also has some training expense in there, another 3,000. Then you come into the district program expenses for youth programs, and this year will only be Rotary Youth Exchange, which is totally self-sufficient. And they have a total budget of 36,900. Now, this was made up before the exchange was canceled for the year, so it'll be less than that, but a lot of that money will be fees that have already been paid in that will be returned to students. So your total expense is 303. It's a zero-based budget.
Okay.
May I ask one question?
Yes, go ahead.
Now, do you have a budget, a balance sheet budget?
I don't have that available right now. Is this John Bishop?
Yeah.
Okay, are you asking about what we have left this year?
Well, I know we had like what was the carryover from how much carryover did we have we generated this year? Or what do you anticipate?
How
much under budget are we this year?
Probably, Sonny, I don't have a good number right now because there's a lot of things in work right now, John, but we will understand this year's budget.
Yeah, that's all I can say. You know, a lot of what I'm managing is the allocation, which gets returned if I don't use it, and the district conference, which is funded by other sources than the district budget. So
Isn't it gonna be for like 40,000?
It's probably safe to say that it's going to be in the neighborhood of 15 plus. Now, is your question is what we're going to do with that?
Well, it's
okay. As in my job as the chair of the finance committee, I'll give you the answer, the true answer. It's under discussion. We haven't decided yet, John. And you know, one of them would be a rebate to the clubs. One of them would be a suitable project, but we will make that decision, and it will be in the best interest of the district and their clubs.
And we don't think that this current budget that you're proposing here has that kind of.
Actually, no. Actually, this budget is pretty slim.
Right. Okay. Good.
To be honest with you, it's a little bit slim in places, and that's because we've kept the dues at 30 per person. Right. And there is one comment that when I gave you the number of dues paying members, we decreased it slightly, but when you build a budget like this, you and I both know that the number of dues paying members within a certain range is a little bit mysterious.
Yeah.
And if I increase the budget by 100 members, that's another $3,000 to spend. Right. So we have to be a little bit careful of where we go on that.
You've done a good job with this.
So on the other thing, I will say, John, about the funds from this year that were underspent, we don't want to zero out the bank either. So there's got to be a little judgment placed in what we do with those and how we treat them. That's why it wasn't an easy question at the last finance committee meeting, and it got pushed to the next meeting. Any other questions?
Well, the people who aren't speaking, please mute. There's some kind of feedback on. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, I think we can call for the vote.
Okay, well, by a show of hands.
Wait. Please close the screen. And you have a question from Bill Lee. Oh, you were just voting. Sorry.
Okay, so we have a call for the vote. And just PEs, please. Just PEs, not PEEs or AGs or anybody else, just PEs. By a show of hands, all those in favor.
And please leave your hands up. We're going to do several screenshots here. And while I'm doing those, you could do a count of, or at least a sense of a count. Keep your hands up, please. Okay, I got it.
Okay, now, all those opposed by a show of hands, PEs only. You see any, Sonny?
I don't yet. Hold on one second. It's going to the next screens.
There are no opposed.
I see no votes.
Okay, so there are none opposed. So the district budget has been passed by the district. Thank you very much. And I hereby close the business meeting. Well done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. So the where we are in the agenda, the training itself is over, but the learning is not. This next hour before we close, we're going to break you into rooms by district area. So there's going to be a group for the north and a group for the south and a group for the central, and then we're going to combine the east and the southeast. Many of the assistant governors and all the lieutenant governors are with us this afternoon. And so this is going to be an opportunity to ask questions and think regionally. And I just jotted down a few notes of things to consider. I'm going to ask we have the governor chain is also with us. And I'm going to ask, and I've set it up so that each group has one of the governor chain members in it to help with this. Things to consider. Club goals and planning. How is that going? Your challenges, roadblocks, and opportunities. Assistant governor and lieutenant governor support of the clubs. Keep in mind, some of the assistant governors may be new starting next year, as well as lieutenant governors. So this will be an opportunity to kind of get to know each other and think about how the assistant governors and lieutenant governors can help you. And finally, and you may talk about other things, but also we talked about this notion of making the council of presidents, where presidents can get together and share ideas and best practices beyond, let's say, just El Paso and Albuquerque. So even regionally, you may talk about what could that look like, and kind of think about a strategy. So we're going to break you into 4 groups. We will reconvene at 4:45, and then we'll have a closing session. And I think I got everyone allocated correctly here, and here we go.
Here we are.
Hi, Keith. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Leah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hi. Hello. Hi, Jimmy.
how we doing? Everybody good?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry I couldn't participate this morning. I got a reaction from my shot, from my second shot.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Leah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Kept me up all night and I could not concentrate this morning. So
I have something I'd like to discuss with our region, with our southern region. We live in an area in which hunger is a big problem. And one of the things I would like to discuss or have discussed is what can we as a group of clubs do to address the issue of hunger in El Paso, Juarez, and Las Cruces?
We were heading the meeting last Wednesday, and all of a sudden my internet went out. But Kathy and I had talked about the day before what we wanted to cover, and so she was there to cover everything, and so it didn't really matter,
I don't know, that sounds pretty convenient, Dean.
It is.
It was, yeah.
Both of us like to travel, and we can cover each other. We
Right.
share ideas, and
Yeah.
we're
Air, Estancia, Socorro.
Rio Grande.
What was the last one?
Rio Grande.
Rio Grande, okay.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Scott.
Those clubs are far apart.
Yes.
Wonderful. Moving on. Bianca.
And I have on there PEN, but is it PEE? Because I will be president in 2022.
Depends on how you, I'm not gonna say it.
I believe that either is considered acceptable. I'm a personal fan of PEN myself, president-elect nominee, for obvious reasons.
President-elect nominee. So I will be president next year.
Okay.
Appeals to all of the clubs in Steve Westerhofer. Yeah, in his area and in my AG area. We were talking, Steve and I have been talking about creating such an entity for this very reason, because there are some small clubs in these areas. So,
I'd certainly be willing to participate in that. And it's just one of the things that's been on my mind for several years as a Rotarian, looking at what's going on. And certainly this pandemic has exacerbated the problems.
But I'm wondering, Jimmy, would you like to give us kind of an overview of how El Paso works?
Yes, I'll be glad to. The council presidents meet once a month, and we try to help each other out. And I know that there are a lot of the clubs that have already been helping the food pantries. I know the Northeast Club gave money to help a food pantry here in the Northeast. And our club has also gone to El Paso's Fighting Hunger, which is the food bank for the whole El Paso County. I know the West Side Club, their members have been going there to deliver food. And so from El Paso's standpoint, I know a lot of the club members have been contributing funds and also labor in far as, helping the community with the food banks.
Jimmy, a question for you. If I remember correctly, I think all the presidents of all the clubs, mostly all the clubs in El Paso, participate in it, and then they pitch it out to their members, right? To their club members.
That's right.
Right.
Typically, every month, we normally have every president of the El Paso Club and Anthony join in. Currently, the president of the Anthony Club, she had some health issues, so she's unable to see, and so she hasn't been participating, but she informs me what to present to our council presidents meeting in regards to her club. But all the presidents do participate in, and we all try to help each other out and reach out to each other to support the community.
And it seems to me that the theory is that this is the president and president-elect's committee.
That's correct.
It's not an AG or an LG committee. So it's by design to meet the needs of those clubs and talk about what's important to those clubs.
That's correct.
I believe, Nikki, that they want the AG and LG to help with the participation in these projects.
Well, that's true, but the projects are what
Is the president's project. Yes, it's a president's project. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, I always invite the AGs and LGs and the governors to participate, and also the Arturo also comes to as public image chair to put his branding concept that he's trying to do. And so we try to get everyone within the El Paso area plus the district representative to attend our pets.
Jimmy, if I could just introduce myself really quick. I actually am in the Anthony Rotary Club. I'll be the co-president-elect with a fellow Rotarian. So if there's anything that I can help you all with, Joanna's still kind of under the weather at this time.
Yeah.
She's still having some issues, but if there's anything that we can help with, I can send you my contact information so you can reach out to me.
Okay, please do.
I have a question for those that are non-El Paso, since they already have a club. Is there a real interest in creating this endeavor?
Nikki, I believe when Jay was president, the presidents of the three clubs used to meet once a month.
That's absolutely true, because I participated in that until
Yes,
COVID.
you were there every now and then when Jay was president, and it fell by the wayside.
Well, it's because of COVID. We had to cancel.
Before that, it fell by the wayside also. Even before you became president, when Jay was president, which was quite a few years back, because they used to meet up in the bank towers and stuff like that for breakfast, and they will have meeting and they will discuss the different projects that each club was having. But that fell by the wayside. It was similar to what they have in El Paso, but it fell by the wayside.
Well, don't you think we could put something together with the three clubs in Cruces and Deming and
Culver City and
Fire?
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think we can. Leah,
I'm all for it. as your lieutenant governor, I'm all for it. I think it would be a fantastic idea, because the more minds you have, the greater the more cooperation you have, the greater you have of help, getting more funding and stuff like that. For what
Well, don't you think, what I would suggest is that one of the LGs or AGs start to re-facilitate this kind of endeavor, because I think it'll take someone who is in contact with everyone to be able to bring us all together.
That's why Steve Westenhofer and I have been talking, is because we're over those clubs. Tara, did you have something you wanted to put in?
I mean, I just don't want to forget Caroline too and Anthony, because I think the southern part of Doña County is so intricately important to food and hunger, because there's such a huge need in Sunland Park, Santa Teresa, Anthony, Chaparral. I know Peg Grimm is over in White Sands, Alamogordo area. So I just think it's really important too, because there's so many people that travel to Las Cruces to receive food from Casa de Peregrinos, because they can't go to El Paso. So I think it's really important that we really connect with Anthony as well, because the need is almost greater outside of the Las Cruces city area.
I tend to agree with you, and I would certainly be welcome. Since I think Anthony is probably closer to Cruces than it is to El Paso, and I'm sure we could all work together.
Yeah, I would be glad to get in touch with all the president-elect, the incoming president, and see if you all can form, if we can form this and see how we can go about pick a day. You'll have to meet and decide which day you would like to do it or something. But I will be glad to help to talk to them, and with Nikki and Steve as our AG, we can easily. I think we can start this. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Isn't that right, Jimmy? It's just a formation of all the presidents and stuff like that.
Yeah, Bob, did you have something you wanted to say? Bob Barnum?
If you need somebody to host it on Zoom, I can do that.
That would be great, Bob. That would be really nice.
Yeah, because the trick here is that it's a continuing thing, not just a one-year thing.
Yeah,
So
like I said,
it needs to have a lifeline.
Yes, it has to have a lifeline, and it has, and like Jimmy was saying, theirs has been going on for so many years that, I think we can, and if we pitch it to where the president-elect every year gets the same, they all know that is part of becoming the president of the club, is that they participate in the thing, and working together, all these clubs, we can probably get a lot better funding, I think.
All right, so Leo, you and Steve and I need to talk.
Yes.
And then we'll contact Bob about how we go about this.
Is that okay with all?
Outside the meeting.
Is that okay with all the president-elect and outgoing president and everything?
I'm good. I'm both current president and president-elect.
Oh, you are? Dawson, how did that happen?
Well, my president-elect, when I did my slate of officers,
oh, okay.
COVID with a business and kiddos at home and homeschooling. So we just decided one meeting, and kind of informal, probably violated every bylaw we have, but we decided to keep the same officers, and I've updated club runner with that.
Okay. If you okay with it, how do I have a show of hand that the president-elect ready to step on board with this idea?
I'm in.
Tara? Okay.
Yeah, I don't count. I'm like way down.
No, you can participate.
You count.
Tara.
You can come.
You can participate. Matt, is that okay with you? Matt is in El Paso and Caroline?
Yes.
Great. Nikki, you and I, like I said, we can have a meeting and we'll decide. We'll let you all decide when to meet. I want you all to make the decision when to meet and everything, and but I think once a month, like they do in El Paso, and then we can let the other clubs, if we can even let the other clubs in the other district know that we are doing this, the Almagado clubs and stuff like that, that we're doing this kind of stuff, and see if they want to join us, even though I'm not the LG for that section, but we can always invite them to join us.
That's true.
Leah?
That's true.
Yes.
Basically, I want to mention that I always tell the incoming presidents, when they get ready to start their year in July, this council of presidents meeting are to be done by the presidents. If they
Right.
want to make a change, which they did, council presidents meeting that used to be held at the Hilton Hotel for a long time, then they moved to the Holiday Inn, and then presidents decided that 7 was too early and they started to have it in the evening. So the council presidents are the ones that dictate, when
When they decide.
right.
Yeah. So you are the president-elect can make that decision and decide when they want to meet and everything, and,
Right.
invite people that they want. They can even have speakers if they want, depending on how long they want the meeting to be and everything.
I think we can probably get it started through Zoom initially at the present time. I'm certainly gung-ho to participate in something like that. And I'm hoping that the others in our area are the same, feel the same.
Anne, I don't hear any input from you. Do you have some?
Well, I'm not a PE, but I do have some input. I'm with West El Paso, and we're doing a project with the food bank. But let me ask a question first. I think when you were discussing earlier, you were saying that people in the communities in New Mexico were able to come use the food bank in El Paso. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
No, they use the one at Las Cruces.
Okay. I thought you were saying they didn't come here because of distance.
Well, they had to
No.
pass through Las Cruces, so they go to the food banks and cruises.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So you
usually,
can't-
because with like state funding and state regulations, typically for a lot of our food pantries that receive funding, they have to like verify their address and where they are.
Yeah.
And so there's smaller food pantries in those areas that like Casa de Peregrinos or Rotary Food Bank give food to, and you can go to those pantries, but I don't think you're allowed to do like El Paso, which has always been a really hardship for Sunland Park and Santa Teresa because they're just right there. But now there's a food bank actually in Sunland Park too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Leo Casa de Peregrinos reaches out with some satellite places, like they've got their big trucks and stuff. And Lorenzo's in our club. He's shown up a few times. In fact, we volunteered back there in October, and we're going to do it again in April. Something I want to do and continue for my next term as president. At least one club service project every quarter.
So have you ever approached the food bank in El Paso about at least serving the communities like Sunland Park? Yeah.
So
they've got
yeah.
enough on their hands just in El Paso.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and this is like down in the weeds of non-for-profit work, because that's what I do for a living, is there's some talk about partnering Southern New Mexico with El Paso and El Paso's food pantry, because we could get food faster than we could get it from Roadrunner Food Bank coming out of Albuquerque. So there's a discussion there, but there's always been such a like, this is the Texas border, this is New Mexico, and we don't overlap. So there's a discussion. It's been going on for probably a year. I'm not sure it'll happen anytime soon, but there is a discussion about that.
Okay.
Just as a consideration, and this actually came up when we were doing our district planning this year, is that these councils of presidents or presidents-elect can also be an opportunity to share and learn from each other about what's working well in your clubs. So a lot of times they're used to look for collaborative project opportunities and things like that, which is great. But there's also an opportunity to say, how's membership going in your club? we understand you started a satellite group. How's that working? So use the group together to learn from each other and share what's working well and what's not, because ultimately you'll probably learn as much from each other than you will from any trainer. So just something else to consider.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other question concerning any other ideas that you all want to bring up or anything like that?
What about goals? How's everybody doing on goals?
Who's got goals?
On the to-do list.
Bob does. I'm super proud of
started.
Bob Bernard. He's got a whole like strategic plan.
Not quite that far yet.
Well, it's pretty close.
You can
That's
tell he's a
something that,
financial planner.
That's something that I'm waiting to try to do as soon as I get some input from members and from the board as to how we do, because I'm not a strategic planner, but we have one in the club who's going to help us to put together a strategic plan, both short-term and long-term, and I want to try to learn what goals the club should have from its membership, not from me.
That's appropriate.
Yeah, very.
That's going to require incentivizing, I think, the members to participate in that activity. And how do you get people to respond to polls? I mean, I could put up a poll on Survey Junkie, and if no one responds, if we have a membership of 53, which we do, and we get 10 responses, that is so non-representative that I hate to put a great deal of stock in it.
Have you tried it during the meetings, putting polls up?
Well, right now, our meetings are Zoom, and we have about 16 people that come out of our 53 members. And so again, that would not really represent enough of the membership to be sufficiently meaningful to commit the club to. I don't think that's right. What do you think?
I have a question. So if you don't use one of the services for surveys, because people look at that as junk, could you just do an email poll? Would you get a better response?
Well, we tried an email poll on something earlier this year, and the response was dismal.
You got to ask their club members what works for them. How do they want to be contacted? Is it phone calls, individual phone calls, or they might not be survey people?
So how do
Barry, it was,
you think?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tara.
Barry, it was interesting talking with the young gentleman from Clovis and his survey. He did like a paper form where people actually could mail it back, and then like an email form, and then like a phone call. And they got a really good response, which I thought was interesting. So I asked him if he'd be willing to share like how he did that survey. And once I get something from him, I'll share it with you all.
Please do, Tara.
And I think you made the point, Barry, that when they receive something, whether it's email or some survey template, I think part of the message is from you as the incoming president saying you really need this information. This isn't just check a few boxes and you'll have done your job. It's like, we're all in this together. We need your input. We're all part of the success of this club. And so however you can add that kind of personal touch and make sure they understand that it really is important, because you're absolutely right. If you get 10 to 20% response rate, there's not a lot of value in that. And so I think you have the opportunity to put some appeal in to reinforce how important their feedback is.
Thank you. I agree with you. I think I totally agree with that concept and would certainly implement something like that as a personal message from me coming in as president-elect.
Heather, did you have something you want to say?
I did. I've been in our club for 2 years now, and I've kind of seen our surveys. I think each club seems to be very individual as far as where they like surveys and not. Our club did not do well with the email. I'm not sure anybody responded. So then, and I'm speaking about past presidents. So then we were part of we took a whole meeting, passed out the survey, and it wasn't well received. So I've been struggling because now I'm seeing this for the third time now, wondering how I can get to my members to kind of talk to our members to find out what's going on. So I had a meeting, sort of an informal meeting with my membership guy, and I said to him, hey, how can I do this? How can I engage with our members? Obviously, emails aren't working, telephone is not working. And his suggestion was to have lunch with the president. So that's something that we're going to try when I come into my term. We're going to announce that, hey, you know what? That would be great if you and I, just one-on-one, can sit down. You tell me your thoughts, give me some ideas of how you would like to see our club and what direction you'd like to head it and go from there. So that's just kind of another option since I don't know what else to try.
More personal approach.
Yeah, that will be a little more personal than just an email or a mail in, mail in a survey or something like that.
I put a note in the chat, sometimes focus groups work as like a different way of getting information without an official survey.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about focus groups is it's more engaging because it's interactive like this.
For this group to work effectively, it takes someone who is familiar with leading something like that. Do we have anyone in our that does focus groups?
No, but we really don't have one right now, and we're talking. I think you get one-on-one people talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hear that some of you have had great success with your online meetings. Here in Deming, we have not. We were very lucky to have 4 people join us. And we had at the time that before COVID hit, we had about 45 members. And so, I mean, of course, people pass away, people move, so, and they get ill and they don't attend. So you don't have any control over that. But we recently started meeting back in person, and we've been kind of lucky. I think we've had 10 to 12 members for the last 3 meetings. So I'm considering that a plus, and I hope to build back up to where we do have our majority of our members joining us every week. But it is a struggle, and it seems like there are new challenges. So we just kind of have to work as we go.
Yeah, I've even asked some of our members in our club, in my own club, I've said, you're at home, you've got computers and stuff. Why can't you join us? We don't want to have to put on the makeup and stuff to join you on Zoom. I'm like, you don't have to put on makeup or you get dressed. You can just join us in your pajama if you want to, if you want to do it. Nobody's going to see you, but, and stuff. So, or even not come on, do by phone, at least participate in the meetings. That's the thing. If we can get the members to participate, even if just by phone or at the meeting, it's a lot better than not showing up at all. To me, I'm talking about as a member myself, I'm like, okay, if I can make it to a meeting, we all have computers, we all have phones that we can talk, or we can do it on and stuff like that.
But I think that is such a big issue for like our younger members, and especially like our satellite club. Like as a kind of a still working professional, I mean, some days I've got 5 or 6 Zoom meetings a day. And so if like our satellite club was meeting at happy hour, most of them want to just go home and not be on a Zoom meeting again. So I think that's what's really hard. And I even find myself being more disengaged because I'm so tired of being on Zoom all day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But just if you just check in and say, okay, I'm here and nice seeing everybody. And like I go to work and sometimes I take my phone with me, sometimes I don't. I mean, sometimes I take my iPad, sometimes I don't. And I just check in and say, okay, I've got to get back to my work that I'm doing and just, but at least you check in and stuff like that. And you're not on it all day long, and stuff like that.
I love those Rotaract members, the fact that they were out in a park doing like stuff. I thought, God, that's awesome. Like, why haven't we, I don't know why we haven't thought about it, but that would be a great opportunity.
That's a social distancing if I ever saw one,
It'll mess up my hair, Tara.
Well, I'm not the AG for the West Side El Paso Club, but I have been attending their meeting because 75% of their membership attends their meeting in the West Club meetings. And it's one of the reasons that they do attend is because they have wonderful, wonderful programs every week. I mean, it's just amazing where they get speakers from all over the United States. And so Ann could talk a little more about her club because I've been really impressed. And also El Paso Club always has wonderful speakers, and they've always had, even when they were meeting in person. But Ann, if you want to talk about your club.
Yeah, I think it's the speakers are perhaps the reason we stayed together. And we also started on Zoom. Once we couldn't meet in person, I think there were only 3 weeks that we missed a meeting. And our president has just really gotten into finding interesting, vibrant speakers from all over. And I think that's, and we haven't done a lot of projects, like our socialization, because we tend to be a club that's predominantly retired people. So, we're the ones that have disappeared down the rabbit hole for this entire year. And we would welcome any of your clubs to join us. We meet on Mondays at noon, and we're really consistent about being done by 1 o'clock, but we have a website. You can see who our speakers are. So, check us out, Rotary Club of West El Paso, not El Paso. And you can see who's going to be speaking. And I mean, we do series of speakers, like we're starting a series on World War II, and a variety of different people talking about different experiences and aspects during World War II. We kicked it off with someone who grew up in Oak Ridge, which is a community very much like Los Alamos. Los Alamos. Yeah, it was a secret community in World War II that was developing plutonium. And this speaker, their perspective was having grown up there as a child. So all of them are very interesting. So you're welcome to join us. Again, if you look on our website, there's a form you can send us our email, and we'll send you the Zoom link. And I know it's offering just another Zoom meeting, but at least it's a really vibrant speaker.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you very much.
Hey.
Keith, I haven't heard from you.
Yeah, no, it's a great conversation today. Thanks, Leah. Leah, I hope you're feeling better.
I'm doing a little better this afternoon. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That
I know
shot just killed me.
my girlfriend, she had the second shot and she had about 36 hours of it was a bear, and all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, she got this great burst of energy and she's fine. So I hope you're on your way to.
That's what I'm hoping.
Okay, so no, I'm just listening here. I'm getting some ideas, and I like your ideas about getting the speakers, using Zoom and getting some speakers that we weren't able to get before. Got some great ideas that I'm kicking around in my head. My question to you is, Ann, when you get ready, going back to I guess normal, whatever normal is going to be, where do you normally meet? Do you usually normally have like a lunch at a local restaurant? Where do you normally all meet?
Monday lunch, we meet at the Great American Steak Burger near Sunland Park Mall.
Oh, yes.
Yep. And in going back, I mean, that's been a really difficult decision. Right now it's easy because the restaurant can't accommodate us. They're still social distancing at 75% capacity. So, but we're talking about how we could do a hybrid, whether it's, every other week we do Zoom versus meeting in person. And the challenge is doing a truly hybrid meeting that is a good experience for the people calling in, as well as the people in the room. And we do have a lot of members, I think, even setting what's happened in COVID aside, we have a lot of members that just can't make it to a meeting during the work week. And we actually have people who are paying members that continue being club members despite the fact that they can't come to the meetings. But having some hybrid combination would allow people like that to participate and might attract new members.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because we just had and Jimmy I'm blessed to have Jimmy in our club in Northeast. Because he's always happy and we're always happy when he's happy. So no, we had a great speaker from Washington, D.C. who talked, she's a Rotarian, who talked about being able to travel the world on really on a shoestring budget. Very interesting. And so I think there's the silver lining that I'm hearing, that I'm looking forward to doing, is it's going to widen our ability to get speakers. Usually I think pre-pandemic, it was like, okay, it's your turn to get the speaker. Where do you get the speaker? And so now I think that's kind of opened that up a little bit. So I'm really excited to seeing who we get as speakers coming over the next 12 to 24 months. I think the world is our oyster.
And you all will be getting a new AG, right, Jimmy? Yasser is going to be the new AG, right, for the West Side?
No, they are not for the West Side. Yasser is going to have the Camino Club. And okay. I'm taking over the West Side Club.
You're taking the West Side, so Yasser is going over to your place?
Camino Club.
Okay. Okay.
I'd like to chime in here about. I'm looking at this as we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, and looking at meeting in person again. I think of this as almost a hard reset for Rotary, and I'm almost really excited. I am super excited about the opportunities that we could do for each club in either doing a hybrid model or doing full 100% back in person or still on Zoom. There are so many things that could be done. And you just were talking about Yasser. Yasser's president of our club. He has done an amazing job with Zoom, and El Paso is known for their big. We have the big wine fest. We also do the Top Golf thing at Christmas. That's the substitute for the Sun Bowl team luncheon that we used to do. And since we didn't have those this year, our club through Yasser came up with a new event called Curbside, which basically is a combination of joining forces with local restaurants that need business and wine, which everyone loves. And they drive up and we have these prepackaged things from restaurants paired with a bottle of wine that everyone pays. I think it's $100. It's once a month. And you get this glorious meal and a bottle or two of wine. And I think we've made almost as much money doing that and less work as we were doing with the Topgolf and the Wine Fest. And just a huge moneymaker for. The reason I'm saying this is because it's just there's so many new ideas that could be done, especially at this time, coming out of being in a hole. It feels like I feel like everyone's kind of been in seclusion and in hiding, but it's really been good getting back to in person. Our meetings, before all this happened, we have 146 members. When I first joined 16 years ago, we had 312. It says a little bit, but
That's a big club.
Yeah, big time.
That's a big club.
So one of the El Paso goals that I'll be doing is of course membership. I think membership is probably one of the most important goals for every club, is to increase membership and maintain membership. Maintenance is key, especially now because of I think we've lost a lot of older members who don't want to be on Zoom. They want to go to their lunch on Thursday and they want to be social, and that's been a big challenge. Is I've noticed a lot of our members that are there every Thursday just aren't there. They don't want to get on Zoom. And personally, I don't like Zoom. This is great because we get to see everyone from every region, but I want to see my group in person. You know, like right now I'm not wearing makeup, and I'm fine with that.
Come on, Matt.
But I think this is just an amazing opportunity for all of us to really reset our clubs and come up with new and exciting ideas for a hybrid environment or a back to 100% in-person environment. And for that, I'm looking forward to that.
If anyone can figure out a way to have an in-person meeting and also have it on Zoom, the advantage that I can see to that is that with the Zoom part of the meeting, you can get a speaker from the East Coast who can actually make the presentation through Zoom at the club meeting.
We're doing that right now.
To figure out how to facilitate something like that, I have open ears.
It's just a big TV and you see everyone on Zoom while the people are in we're meeting at the Golden Corral on the west side right now because the Community Foundation doesn't want to open up yet. But so we made those arrangements. We adapted and changed. And
They have the equipment and everything for you to be able to project it, the speaker on the TV.
Yeah. The only problem is with the president, the president has to look back and forth, but that's no big deal.
Yeah, that's the key right there.
Right.
Will the facility you're meeting in provide that equipment, or does Rotary have to come in, put it together and set it up every time?
Yeah, actually,
in our club, the only thing we have to bring is the computer because the overhead projector and the screen is there.
Yeah.
Right, but we're talking a lot more sophisticated
Yeah,
equipment.
they're projecting it to a TV. That's what they're projecting it to the TV. The Zoom is going to the TV instead of on a screen.
Why?
Actually, the Northeast Rotary Club been meeting in person for the last 2 months. And the owner of the Golden Corral that Matt was talking about happens to be a member of the Northeast Rotary Club. We used to meet at the Northeast Golden Corral, but because of the pandemic, it's been closed. And so he took ownership of the West Side Golden Corral last October. And so he invited us to come to have lunch over there. And so we, like Keith was saying, the speaker that I got was a speaker from outside of Washington, D.C. And so we do both meeting in person and also by Zoom on the big screen that Matt was talking about, which is provided by the Golden Corral. And so it's been very, very successful in both respect, in person and also in Zoom.
Does
That's
Rotary
something you would
have
have
a
to
Zoom
con-
account?
Yeah, that's something you would have to consider is the facility you're meeting in. Can they even begin to accommodate that? Or do you need to move to a different facility?
Yes, I can tell you, I'm a member of the Toastmasters Club. And that's what once we started meeting, they started closing, they closed our library down here. And that's where we were meeting. We had to find other places to meet. And I can tell you firsthand, if you're just coming in kind of on a side of not understanding how to set that all up, you're in for a real education, because putting that all together and not being techie, getting the TV together with the computers, getting everything synced and the microphones and several cameras so that everybody can see you. It's a process, and it will go wrong the first time and probably the second, but by the third or fourth time, you're all going to have it.
Well, I think the things you need are internet connectivity, a Zoom, somebody has to have a Zoom account. Well, I don't know whether, this might be something that the district might want to acquire, a Zoom account, and then dole it out to the various presidents or a committee at each club to access that Zoom account, to send out the links and set up the meetings at the local clubs.
Yeah, but you still have to have the equipment, Barry. You're
Yeah,
talking
the
more
facility has to
cameras and a
have,
TV and.
the facility has to have the ability to project a computer image on a screen. Because if you do the Zoom on the computer and you project that on the screen, you have your membership, you have your presentation on the screen, and you have your in-person membership all in the same facility, all receiving it.
I don't know, Tara, you're doing this a lot. Do you have some input?
I mean, there are some local restaurants that have figured out that this is a way to kind of get people back into kind of their larger meeting spaces. So I know Hacienda de Mesilla has done that in their conference room, but their conference room is too small for our club to do any kind of social distancing. There may be a couple of hotels that are starting to like investigate and put this items in their hotel and have like the IT. But I think too is that we don't budget for that. So we could be walking in and not know how much it's going to cost to have an IT person there and to do those types of things. I think it's much harder to do with like a screen and a projector and computers. We'd have to have somebody there probably 30, 45 minutes early every single time just to do the setup. So it makes sense to have somebody do it, you know, that has that equipment. I think most of those places aren't going to be big enough for some of our clubs in Las Cruces.
I think the largest club in Cruces is only about 60 members at the present time.
Yeah, but even Hacienda de Mesilla at 75% or I guess 33% inside would only be 10 or 12 people in that room because it's so small.
And Barry, last time I talked to the people that's in charge of at La Posta in that room, the only way we will be able to do what you're suggesting, where we could do the Zoom and the screen, they will not be able to accommodate us in the room that we use, that has the projector and everything. They told me because of the fact that we're still under the rule of only 25% of the facility they can sit, and Tom Hutchinson is very strict about that. They will not have any big groups in that room. They do not want any big groups because they won't be able to sit but 4 people or 3 people at the table.
I'm actually thinking about it, not at the present time, but after things open up, because even with our 50 or so members, if we get 18 or 20 at a meeting, and we get another 10 or 12 online, that increases the exposure.
Oh, yeah, right.
By combining that zooming into the meeting with actual in-person meeting.
Right.
Heather, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Nikki. What our club did is we just bought a membership to a GoToMeeting, and that's what we use is GoToMeeting. And we have hooked on now where we meet. The internet is not always the best. Sonny Kellerman came to talk to us, and the internet was real spotty, and we ended up not being able to use even the laptop to be able to project and have her talk to us. So that's another thing too. I mean, even the internet, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just kind of have to go with the flow. But the GoToMeeting worked well. And the internet, even though we were all in different areas, it worked well enough so that we didn't have spotty internet.
Go ahead, Ann.
We're lucky to have someone in our club who's very techie. I'm married to him, so he's trying to figure out how to do a fully hybrid where you have club members that are on Zoom and another part of the club is meeting in person. And what he keeps telling us is that it's easy to have a speaker join by Zoom. That's relatively straightforward. And by the way, Zoom doesn't cost a whole lot, Barry, one account. And if you had one account for the whole district, you can't get two clubs on at the same time.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But when you start adding other participants, club members that want to Zoom into your in-person meeting, that's where the challenge is. And you really need, you know, the audio and the video figured out, and you need people, you need a team. You know, I'm envisioning 2 or 3 people in the room to coordinate it. It becomes like a production then. So he's not totally comfortable with doing it. He's working on it. And I know there's a lot of people talking in district and at the zone level about how to work this out. So hopefully we will. I mean, I'm personally like the idea because, you know, people that can't leave their job could join us at lunch over their lunch hour if they still wanted to participate. And then they can come to our socials and our service projects, you know, when they're outside of working hours.
Totally agree with you.
So I'm bugging him about it. I don't know if I'll get there.
Yeah, the zone actually has a team together looking at this very thing, as Ann has said, as the district has a tech team that's looking into this.
Now the governor has to say goodbye to us.
Poor chicas.
Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah.
I'd like to know how many of the PEs answered OMG on their questionnaire.
In a minute. It's anonymous.
I don't want to know who, I just want to know how many.
Now he tells us.
That's a funny question, actually. I thought that was pretty good. I
Do
know
you
when I
dare-
took my chats when I was president, it was OMG all the way. So I think this is easier than being in a big room and all the distractions and restrooms. Like that. This is a lot easier.
Where's the dogs?
Oh, who's got a dog there? Oh. Ooh. Aw.
As we are reconvening, please, if you're an incoming president, please answer the poll question.
Do your polls get automatically analyzed?
Not this one. This is for us only.
All right. I'm in a lot of trainings for hearing and hearing aids and just all the different stuff that I get trained for. And they do polls all the time. And then the results are just automatically produced. So I don't know if Zoom does. No,
Oh yeah, you can download a report from Zoom polling. I'm just not doing it for this.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, our chat room was terrific.
Good.
We had fun too. It was good.
Another 20 seconds.
Yeah, the North Group had their very first President's Council. It was awesome.
I understand that we're going to be invited as president-elects to the president councils for the next few months until we're actually presidents.
Sure.
And does anybody know whether they're going to do it on the 2nd or not?
Yes, the East and Southeast is meeting on the 2nd.
12 o'clock, the 2nd.
All right, so we have our poll
something?
results. And for the one of you who answered OMG, feel free to reach out.
Please.
And we are excited for you too. So thank you all for participating in that. We are going to close. Bob, please go ahead and close this out.
Well, what are we, 4 weeks? 4 weeks of this? Wow, you guys rock. What participants, what engagement. It's just been a true pleasure and an honor to be associated with all of you. I can't wait to get out and visit every one of you. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. I gotta give kudos to everybody, all the facilitators, all the people that presented. They did a great job. They really inspired us, inspired me. And it couldn't have been done without Jeff pulling this all together over, you know, for every hour that you've seen, there's been about 5 hours of work on the part of everybody, and probably double that for Jeff. So Jeff, everything, all kudos to you. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for backing me up here, and thanks for doing this for my group. This is awesome.
Thank you.
I want to remind everybody, I'm having a happy hour for y'all the night before the district conference gets convened in 2 weeks' time. And you don't have to register, just show up. It's going to be happy. I've got a couple things in mind to keep everybody engaged, but it's just a way of more fellowship, get to know everybody better, all your peers, before you get to put the nose to the grindstone and get to work. So Sunny, I'm going to leave it. I'll pass it off to you for your comments, then I'll wrap it up.
Okay, I'll be very brief. I know everyone's had a very long day. I will simply reiterate what Vicky said many hours ago when we began today. You remember she said that being a Rotary Club president was the best job in Rotary. It's really true. And what I especially would like you to take away is you do not want to feel like you've got it all handled, or you would have nothing to learn in the course of this year. This is going to be a year in which you become even more effective as leaders, as communicators, and you're going to enjoy so much fellowship and so much service. So remember that it's okay not to know. Remember that it's okay to make mistakes. And remember that it's imperative that you have fun. And call on your district leadership for anything at all that you need. Back to you, Bob.
Thanks, Governor Sunny. And thanks for all the inputs you've had to share over the last few weeks. They've been very insightful and helpful. Thanks. I appreciate your participation.
My pleasure.
This is much like a commencement. You've just gotten the first part of your training. Your training is going to be continuing on for the next 15 months. We've got district assembly in 3 weeks, April the 8th, or I'm sorry, April the 8th.
May 8th.
May 8th, thank you. May 8th. And that's for all your committee chairs to get trained up by the district and our guest speakers. So please make sure that they attend that as well. I'm going to close with, I opened with sort of a nautical theme. I'm going to close with one as well. You've just gone through what we call a Naval Academy. You've been assigned to your ship. You've gone to your ship with your crew. You've been below decks. You've been going over the maps. You've been reading about the provisioning that's on your ship, all the, how much fuel you're carrying. You've been looking over the weather charts. And now it's coming up on June 30th, and you're going to come out above decks. And you're going to spread out, and you as President-elect, you're going to go to the helm. And the current president will be there, and she will give you a briefing on what you've got to expect. She'll tell you about your boat, what's going on with your boat, the course you're on, the weather on the horizon. You might have some clouds out there. And you don't know, you get a little closer, you don't know where they're going to dissipate or they're going to get strong. And you may have following breezes. You will have following breezes. You will be, there'll be times when you're beating into a 20-knot gale and there's 6-foot swells going over the bow. And that's really exciting part of being a governor is dealing with that. And as you take the helm, you look out on the deck, you see your crew out there, and the same thing is happening to them. They're being briefed on their position, and everybody's got their own duties. Everybody's got their own responsibilities, but you are one. You're one in value, and you're one in purpose, and you're going to reach your goals because you're working together. So stand by for something I've got to share with you here.
Together we have one voice, doing good is always our choice. We're on a mission, the same mission. Let's make this clear like 2020 vision. Together for the truth, and together for the youth. We open doors of opportunities, work hard to transform communities. Together we are one. Together we are one. Together we'll grow bigger. We'll do good, we'll do it now. We'll rise as one for everyone. The future is as bright as the sun. Together for the truth, and together for the youth. Open doors of opportunities, work hard to transform communities. Together we are one. Together we are one.
So let's go out and take action to make a lasting impact around the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.